May the 14th, Tuesday, at Public Works Building at 9 o'clock. We're here for the regular council meeting. We're getting stand for the invocation and also the pledge.
Thank you again for the blessing. Thank you for this great country, this great city we live in. Lord, we just ask for one thing, that you be with us and that you guide us in every decision. Lord, help us to hear your voice and do what's best, because, Lord, you know the way. We ask you these things, Father, in Christ's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tammy, call the roll, please.
Mayor Wolf,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Hamilton. Here. Mr. Adams,
Here.
Mr. Linderman.
Here.
I'll tell you one thing, we've got a big agenda today and a lot of paper shuffling will be going on at this table, there's no doubt in my mind. So- Okay, first thing we want to take care of is the consent agenda for the minutes of March the 12th and March the 26th. Has the council went through it? Are we good?
Oh, yeah.
Anything?
I'm good, but we weren't here, so.
Who passes, you want to make a motion to pass?
Okay, we have a motion to pass agenda, yeas and nays.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Well, we have some scheduled appearances. Dina, you here? You good?
She just, she's,
Barely.
Yeah, just barely. So good morning. I know some of you, but not all of you. I'm Dina Bautista. I'm with Atkins Realis, and we have been with the city since Hurricane Michael to handle all of the city's disaster recovery consulting services. We were rehired back in November of 2023. Our contract was renewed, well, not renewed, but you put out an RFQ and rehired us. So pleased to be here. Welcome to the new council members and their new mayor. I think most of you are familiar with the city's recovery projects, but we have 3 projects still left to be obligated, which is the pier, the police fire municipal complex, and the jetties. We're hopeful actually that the jetties are going to be obligated in the next 30 days, but knock on wood, so we don't jinx it. The pier and the municipal complex are a bit behind those, but continue to move along. And then as far as the other projects, we have 49, I think, still have 49 total FEMA projects post-Michael. Those are the only 3 that we're waiting on FEMA to approve the funding for. And then the others are in various states of being implemented. Some of them are completely done and on their way to close out with FEMA and the state. So if you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out. And myself and everyone on the Atkins Realis team can answer those questions. We also help the city with a few other federal grants, not just FEMA related. Those include some NICWIF grants and HMA, which is Hazard Mitigation Assistance. So we have a few of those as well. So any questions?
Just for the audience, the city administrator brought all 4 subcontractors to come in and just talk and introduce themselves. Some projects we got going on, so this is nothing, no agenda here other than an introduction. If you did have questions in the audience at all, we want to field those. Okay, anything at the table?
I have one question. So, in your opinion, is there anything we can do to speed up the pier grant?
Yes, but I think we're already in the process of doing that. So the pier has been caught up in multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons has been environmental because it's in Waterworks. We actually turned that project in 4 years ago to FEMA, and it got stuck in their environmental review. That problem has since been addressed. We've really seen some movement, and they are currently reviewing what's called an environmental assessment, which is those final steps before they can push it through. So they've looked at it. We expect for them to do what they call, basically send out letters to the federal agencies that have to permit the pier. Meanwhile, the city's done everything they could on their end to make sure that from our perspective, we've done what we can do. So it's really in the hands of FEMA. And so we submitted a permit to the Army Corps of Engineers and DEP, but they won't look at it. DEP has, I think, approved it, but the Army Corps still is holding that permit application, and they won't actually move forward with review until FEMA's environmental review is done, and they send those letters to say, we're the funding agency, please review. So that's really where it's held up at the moment. But the other kind of issue that we have with the pier is when FEMA approved the cost, it goes through steps within the FEMA process. One of the steps is to establish the scope of work and the cost. That cost that they came up with, we feel is too low, and FEMA's acknowledged that it's probably too low. So we're also kind of trying to field that issue so that when it comes out of environmental, FEMA can pull back and adjust the costs. And so as part of that, we should see soon, we're working with the engineer for this, but we should see soon that that goes out for bid so that we get actual contractor costs for the pier, and we can provide those to FEMA so that when it finally gets obligated, we have true costs, and we've got all of the environmental paperwork in process and ready to go.
Okay, so do you have any idea what level at FEMA are we talking that this is being handled? Is it like a GS-15, SES, GS-5? What?
So we have it's on region, so region 4 of FEMA, which is pretty much as high as you can go without going all the way to Washington, D.C., is aware of the pier and have started conversations. FDEM is our partner, Florida Division of Emergency Management. They're our partner in this, and they are facilitating those discussions to try to make sure it stays on track and that we get those two issues resolved, the cost and the environmental.
Okay, so one last question. Would it help if we had a squeaky wheel in a representative, somebody to help us with this?
Absolutely. Yes, I know Mayor Wolf joined our last FEMA call. That is always really helpful for FEMA to have that exposure to elected officials within the city. So I think that was really helpful, and I know FEMA was excited that you were there and to meet you, and certainly kind of brought their best face to the table. Sometimes it's easy, we have bi-weekly check-in meetings with FEMA, and sometimes it's easy in those 2 weeks for nothing to happen, but I feel like they knew you were going to be there, Mayor Wolf, and so they came prepared to really give some updates and some answers and movement.
Yeah, just real quick, while Tim was talking there, I was wondering if maybe the city administrator or Laura could give us some input on this, but there's some excellent minutes right after that are sent to us.
Mm-hmm.
Can we share those minutes with the council?
Shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
I would suggest we do that as soon as they come out. Chris, if you can do that, that'd be great.
And one of our recent meetings with the FEMA representative and the state representatives, the person that we deal with at FEMA made the offer to us, and we thought it would be useful to actually come to the city council meeting and brief the council in person. So we can by all means, share those minutes, but, that's another option. Now, he may be leaving, I think, as of our last meeting, but he may be willing to come and give kind of an out brief before he departs his
Yeah.
current office.
Good. I think first step is let's go ahead and share the minutes as soon as we get them back. Share them with the council.
And you still believe it's, at a previous meeting, you said about 2 years to get it through?
So I think 2 years is a reasonable time frame for it to actually begin construction by the time we get through the environmental steps, and then have a contractor mobilized and in place to move forward, considering it hasn't been obligated yet.
Thank you. You're going to stand by?
Yes,
You're going to sit around, because I know we're going to talk about the extension a little bit, and maybe you might think about that, because I really want to understand that well, what we're trying to do, and it's not going to impact what we're already doing.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Kimberly, you out there?
Didn't know I was a subcontractor.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna send you an
I
invoice.
caught that when I said it, and I had to back up, and I just said, all right, we'll get with it.
Good morning, council, mayor, Jerry. My name is Kimberly Sho, for those who might not know me. I am the tourism director for Mexico Beach. Just wanted to give the city and the residents an update on where we stand on our full beach restoration project. we're a go. The county is in the early stages of preparing the bid docs, and we hope to start construction November of this year. It'll be around a 90-day project, so outside of turtle and shorebird nesting season, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. And we have funding from three sources, 2 on the state level, and then 1 from the city with their CDBG-DR grant that they received a couple years ago. And we have our federal and our state permits in hand. So all the next steps are bidding and overseeing and construction. We will have a page on our website, and the city is stated that they'll link to it as well, with tons of Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, this website will definitely answer all of it. It's in the design phase right now because there are some questions that we don't have answers for that we won't until it gets bid out, the project gets bid out. But overall, this is going to be a huge project. It's going to be a great thing for Mexico Beach. We've never done a full beach restoration project before. My organization and the TDC and the county were looking into this prior to Hurricane Michael, so we've been working on this project for a very, very long time. And it's finally coming to fruition, and we're putting shovel to sand, and we're excited. So it's just a really general update that I have.
Any questions from the audience at all? Oh, no. Anything from the table?
Are we having a meeting to discuss this in detail?
Kimberly and I have talked about that, and yes, there's a good possibility, because there are some things that need to be.
Yes, we can definitely have any kind of, I can be on the agenda for a more formal, presentation. However y'all would like to do it. I'll be giving you more update on Thursday. But yes, I can come back and answer as many questions that anybody might have.
But you guys have done a good job on the website, so check out the website.
Yeah, it's not on there yet. That page isn't up there yet, but it will be. Yes.
Question and answer.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Elizabeth Moore?
Hey, good morning, how are y'all? I think most of y'all were here when we were hired, but I'm Elizabeth Moore. I'm the president of Anchor CEI. We're a full-service civil engineering firm. We really specialize in what you all do, whether it's design work, construction admin, grant writing, but this is kind of what we do. Anchor has been in business for about coming up on 9 or 10 years now, but I personally have got about 25 years of experience doing exactly this, and actually working with the city of Mexico Beach from the time that I started my career. I really, in one capacity or another, has worked with this city. So I also brought 2 of our project managers. Emily is the one who's been helping me the most with the work that's been coming from Mexico Beach, and then Curtis is also one of our project managers. That's a newer hire, all assisting us with the work that's been coming our way. But we're glad to be here. It's nice to meet everybody. We do work with we've already been hitting up Dina on a regular basis. We've worked with Kimberly in the past, so we know your staff pretty well and are able to work with them. I did want to give you a quick update on some of the projects that you have already pushed our way that are under contract now. We've got the kayak launch. We are working on that. We've got the survey. We've got a layout drafted. We're still waiting on geotech, and then once we get the geotech, we'll be able to push that to our structural engineer for him to finalize the plans, and then we'll be able to put that out for bid. The 15th Street pedestrian bridge, I know that's a lot of interest for everybody here. We've got the survey. We've done the environmental flagging on that. We've got a draft layout, but again, we're waiting on the geotech so that we can finish the actual abutment design and do the final design on that, but it is moving forward.
Can you give us a time limit? A guess, I know you can't bring it down.
We're probably gonna need
I'd like that finished before this summer.
the project finished before the
No,
summer.
I know it won't be, but it's how far along was that gonna take?
This one should be fairly quick because the permitting, if we can stay in the uplands, that's gonna be the biggest thing. If we can stay out of the wetlands, then we should be able to get that one pretty close to 60 days out for bid, I hope. So,
That's good.
okay. Emily may be cringing back there. But I think we can do that. So again, we're waiting on geotech. Unfortunately, a lot of times we're at the mercy of our subcontractors, and our geotech right now is pretty swamped, but they're really, I prefer, there's different geotechs I use for different projects, and this one, they're a little backed up right now, which that's because they're really busy and they're really good.
What does that mean, geotech? Is that the survey?
Soils. So in order for us to know what kind of load the abutments can handle. So, what kind of footer they're gonna have. Make sure I remember what I told you. As far as my timeline, so I don't forget. The access mat, also called Moby mats, but we've learned now that that's a trade name. They had some trouble getting us the survey, but we do have the survey now. We've got a conceptual layout, and then that one's getting pretty close to being finished, but there are a few things that we need to discuss as far as what materials you have on hand. Just anyway, we'll get with the city administrator about that, city manager. Let's see, the design build for the metal building, that's on your agenda today, I believe. And we have a few other submittals that we're working on as well. We should have those out back to you all within the next week or two. So I think that's all we have on our agenda now.
Good deal. Have any questions from the public about any of those projects? It's all ones we've talked about before, and we're anxious to get them done.
We're working on
There's
them.
one back here, real quick.
Can we get a preliminary layout of the access mats to see exactly where you're gonna put them?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yes, we can get that, and then, like I said, we do have one question that we need to finalize as far as the number and length, but, so we'll coordinate that, and as soon as we have that, we'll get that back to the city, and we can push that back out to y'all.
We good at the public? Anything at the table?
What do you need from the council? Anything?
Today, no, if you sign off on the metal building, then we can get that one going forward, but as of right now, no, no, the information's been coming from, we had to collect, I will admit, we had to collect a lot of data, because there's a lot of things that have happened on some of these projects that we really had to dig into, just to make sure that we weren't duplicating efforts of things that the city has already paid for in the past. So that's taken us a little time to kind of find out exactly what you'd had done before.
Would it help you and your team if you knew what the city's priorities were for these projects?
Absolutely, absolutely. I will tell you that we're getting everything out as fast as we can, but if we need to move some up or down, then that is helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Calvin Connor. Back there. Connor.
Yes, sir. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. I guess most of you know we were selected as the consultant to perform a stormwater master plan. And we have an original task order signed for about 107 acres. And that one, we've got survey and environmental being done. It's actually been completed. We're just waiting on the field work for that. And that's for a 107 acres, which includes the 80-acre parcel from St. Joe. But today we've got task order number 2 for an additional 400 and about 50 acres. This outline here, in this yellow orange line on the screen, if you can see it.
Calvin?
Yes, sir.
When we get into our agenda, we're gonna be talking about this in depth.
Okay.
Most likely, so probably just kind of go over top of it, and then when we get into it, probably a better time to do this.
Okay, yeah, so I guess basically then we've got a task order to expand the area of the original task order we have for about 4.5 times the original area of the original master plan. I guess we'll go into detail in a minute then.
What about your office? I mean, how many people are in your office?
So in our local Niceville office, we have 10 people there, but company-wide, we've got 125 or so people.
What do we have dedicated to this project?
I mean, our most of our office will be, and then we've got resources in Orlando. I guess there definitely won't be any bottleneck or press for resources, if that's the question.
Okay. Good. You're gonna stick around so that
Yes,
we
sir.
get to that subject and vote. Good deal. Any questions from the public? We are gonna discuss that later in the agenda. Anything at the table? We're good?
Okay, thanks.
Planning and zoning, Mr. Hubbard?
The only thing for planning and zoning right now is we have 2 applicants for the alternate positions which are currently vacant, Eric Fasagi and Larry Henderson. Mr. Henderson was, I listed the 2 individuals in alphabetical order, but Larry Henderson was the first individual to submit his application. He submitted it well before the past election, then decided he was going to run for city council. And upon, that not being successful, now he's willing to go onto the planning and zoning board in order to assist the city in that manner. And then Eric Fasagi and both individuals are here with us today.
And we're in need of 2?
Yes, sir.
That makes it pretty easy, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess I'll talk personally. I know both these guys personally, and I've talked to them a couple different times, and I in fact highly recommend it. So, anybody at the table?
I second it, but we need them, we got to have them, I mean, we need both of them.
So, just to be clear, so the first alternate would be Mr. Henderson, and the second alternate would be Mr. Fasagi.
He applied first.
Yep. All right, I make a motion that we accept Mr. Henderson as alternate 1 and Mr. Fasagi as alternate 2.
I'll second that motion.
And roll, please.
Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Good deal. Welcome, thank you. The regular agenda, number 1 is good old AvCon, so we get to talk about it right away here. Chris, you want to update us on the stormwater study? Do you have any comment on it?
No, I don't, sir.
Okay, it's going to move. Go ahead.
All right, now we'll get into detail.
There we go.
So our original task order was for an area of just over 100 acres, and this one will be, it's about 100 or 450 acres. So it expands the area by about a little over 4 times what we had originally. And we've been out here several times. I know Tanya's been out here and ridden around with Councilman Smith, and just to kind of get an idea of all the kind of problem areas that the city's having. So we believe that this area kind of encompasses all of the kind of the major problem areas that that the city's having, and again, we also take into consideration we're bringing in a bunch of off-site conveyance under the state road. It includes about a 40-acre pond on the 80-acre parcel from St. Joe that we'll have to be permitting, and then just a big portion of this project is just data collection, just with a massive area, number of stormwater pipes and inlets. So almost half of the task order budget is just for survey and data collection. But I think that's a general overview of the project. So we'll get the data collection, and we'll put together a big stormwater model and analyze existing conditions, and then put together some alternatives for different improvement alternatives.
Anything outstanding in the first 107 acres that?
Well, we're still waiting. They've completed the survey and stuff, but we haven't received that yet. So we haven't been able to start kind of modeling our existing conditions just to validate the model yet.
Date-wise, we still good as far as the dates that are shown being done with task 2 in December?
Yes, yep, I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go to the public, see if there's any questions from the public. Lisa, come on up to the podium. Thank you.
Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. Would you point out, please, on that map, exactly where, I know where the 80 acres is over here. What is the additional acreage that you're talking about? What was the original 107 and the additional 450?
I don't know if we have I have a printout that I brought with me of the original area outlined in red. It covers this street and into here, and that's mostly it. And now the area is.
Hang on.
Now the area
Thank
has
you.
I have this
disappeared.
one, that's the one
There
you're
you
talking
go,
about.
thank
Thank you. Yes.
All right,
So
so,
here's the original area in red,
okay,
which covers the 80-acre parcel, and then through here and up through here out. And then the new area, sorry.
You need another map?
Well,
this is the, Under the Palms Park.
yes, ma'am.
All right, so is all of this included in this thing?
It is, yeah, with the additional area, yes, ma'am.
All right, what I was asking him was, was all of this included? And he said, yes. I have been asking since this started for a meeting with all of us property owners who live right around here, whose property adjoins this, whose property is in the first blocks right here. We will be directly affected. Doug Baber said, yeah, we'll get to it. I've asked Chris Hubbard twice. We'll get to it. So, it is imperative in this design stage that the over 150 of us property owners who are going to be directly affected meet with these people from AvCon, see what they have, because the map that I have from the original project is a no-go in my opinion, and it directly affects us, in my opinion, negatively. We have never been able to talk to these AvCon folks, and we need to know exactly what they plan, because the original concept is not a good one. And so we have to have a workshop for all of us involved in this before they get past this design stage. I've been down this road with this city too many times. We're put off, we don't get to say anything in the design stage, then when we get to say something, it's already written in stone and it doesn't matter. The time to talk to us is now. So put a workshop on the calendar, and all of us who are directly affected need to have full information on this.
Yes, ma'am, and we'd love to get input from residents along here. So when we set the model, we'll first collect all the existing conditions, and then we'll put our model together to kind of try to validate the existing conditions, and that's going to be really beneficial to hear from you and others to see if what you're seeing matches what our existing condition model is showing before we start performing.
Are you using for your design the original preliminary map from the original study?
In the
For the 80 acres?
yes, ma'am. Well, yes, ma'am. We're collecting all the drainage through this area.
Under any circumstances, have a meeting for all of us on this, because it is not going to be acceptable to so many of us if you don't hear from us. Okay?
Have you got out and polled citizens?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes, I
There's a
have.
list of those citizens?
Most of them don't even know this is going on. A few of them are like me and saying, So, yeah, we're talking over 150 property owners here.
Affected.
Affected, directly
Not that
affected.
you talked to.
No, I haven't talked to 150 property owners yet, but I'll be
I'm
happy
just
to.
trying to, is this Lisa Logan's
This-
complaint, or is this a citizen's complaint? That's all I'm
It
trying
is
to-
primarily mine because I'm the one who is keeping up with this.
Okay.
Like I said, most of them don't even know this is going on.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we build the city for the citizens.
Yes,
So
I
that's
know.
That's what we need.
Can I ask Lisa a question?
Sir.
So, can you tell me what your primary concerns are at this point, Lisa, with this?
Tim, I am going on the preliminary map from the
Okay.
original one. That's all I've got to go on.
I'm trying to say, so, based on that, what are your concerns? That's what I'm trying to understand.
My concerns is what they want, what they propose to do with this, which is food truck plazas, pavilions, parks, all this stuff in there, walking paths that will bring people through our backyards. They want to put parking angled in parking on Maryland. Really? All of this kind of stuff we need to talk to them.
Okay, I hear you, Lisa, and one of the things that I want to go back to, they have to do a certain amount of the study to be able to even get there. So I think phase 2 is not too far for them to get along to be able to answer some questions of citizens after they finish 2. Is that what you said?
Right, yeah, I think it's imperative for us to get feedback from you guys.
So we're not behind the 8 ball here.
And that's
And I
fine.
hear
I
you.
want to make sure we're not, because in the past, we always have been. Okay?
So, to repeat what you said, or to say this a different way, you're concerned about the accessory use, not the primary use of the detention pond.
Our other concern, or my concern, is I want to know exactly how they plan to funnel water back into here, because all of us who live along here will be directly affected. And none of us can figure out how that's going to work, so we need to have information on this.
Same concerns.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Also, for the mayor and council and the citizens, as part of the contract, they have committed to doing 3 workshops here. So there will be workshops scheduled whenever we get to that point.
During a design phase before it's written in stone.
Well, it's whenever they get to that point.
Okay. Calvin, anything else?
That's all from me.
Anything from the table?
I enjoyed your crossway.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of things, I don't want to get here with Lisa, but if you go around that 80 acres and know which way the water, and she does right, they can't run water uphill, but they're going to try to use that as a detention pond, so they're going to have to do it. All they can is have to stop the water coming in from Gulf County, which I don't know if she knows or not, but that red going down, that used to be a canal, and it goes into 8th Street Canal. So, you know, we're gonna get there, we just gotta get started. That's what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
Tim, you got a question?
Yeah, so, in your design, is it pretty open to who's gonna bid for it, or are you restricting it to, for example, under the palms, I believe, are pipes that could be used to pump the water from the vicinity of 8th Street Canal to the detention pond? Is that the design we're proposing, or we're letting that up to the bidder?
No, we'll come up with multiple alternatives, and kind of get a priority list together, and then show, look, if we replace all these with big box culverts, this is what happens, but here's the cost. Or if we do swales, it may be cheaper, but not quite as effective. So we'll have multiple alternatives to look at and decide from.
And so, 40-acre detention ponds, is that a wag, or are you pretty sure on that number? What's it based on?
I mean, it'll be close to that, just based on the, typically when you're doing, like stormwater treatment calcs, your pond size is, I mean, anywhere from 5 to 15 or maybe even 20% of your catchment area. So it's about 10% of what we're proposing right now.
So the pond is based on the size, the 80 acres, not the amount of stormwater?
Well, based on the whole area.
Okay. And does it take into account the watershed effects onto Mexico Beach?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're taking in we're taking into account any offsite drainage as well.
Okay, and then, do you have any idea how deep this pond will be, and will it have a berm as part of it, or will it be all?
That, I'm not sure yet.
Okay, so that's not.
Yeah, we'll have to get into design for
All
that.
right, one last design. So is the intent to detain the water completely there, or are we gonna look at options of then discharging that somewhere, either into this Panther Swamp back or into the Gulf?
I believe we'll have a discharge. It just kind of exponentially increases the treatment volume and attenuation volume that we have to capture if we don't discharge it. So it just makes your pond that much bigger. But when we do discharge it, we've got to retain the stormwater, and we can't discharge any more water than we were discharging before any development happened.
Okay.
So if we contain it, it'd be a controlled discharge.
So I guess there is another question. So if we do discharge water, will it be treated somehow? Will the soils and the tannins be?
Yeah, that's what we're doing in the stormwater pond. So it'll go in the pond, and then it sits and perks into the pond, and
Right.
it settles into the
Okay.
ponds, and then it's got a treatment device that it has to, the water, it sits in the pond for a certain amount of time before it.
Okay.
before it
The
goes.
pond is a retention pond, it's meant to retain.
Yes, it's meant to
Right.
yes, sir.
Is it retention or detention?
Well, I think it'll be, they both treat the stormwater, one's just dry and one's wet. So,
Okay.
but I believe it'll be probably a detention pond, just with water tables
Which,
here.
which means
Would it be wet?
it'll
Yeah.
always be wet.
Mhm.
And there's no plan for discharge at this point, because you don't know the volume, is that correct?
I assume there will be, I assume we will be discharging, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
So there'd be a separate plan how that's gonna happen.
Mhm. Yes, sir. Yeah, that'll all be in our models and alternatives as well.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just to kind of help Kelvin out, because I know you're coming into this kind of back into the conceptual. So the city, what Calvin's working on, what ASCOM is designing part of those HMA grants that the city has. I know, Mr. Lindeman, you know about that grant, the big $8 million grant that was announced. Right now, the city is in the first phase, so we have to get through Calvin's deliverables for design. And as part of that, as he mentioned, he's going to provide alternatives. Once design gets to those alternatives, we'll have to do a benefit cost analysis to show that whatever alternative the city chooses, the benefits outweigh the cost. Then from that point, the city can unlock phase 2, which is construction, and that full $8 million construction piece of it. But to answer your question, Councilman Linderman, on the south side of the 80 acres, there's a separate grant through NIFWIP to do pre-treatment and restore wetlands, remove invasive plants, and put in a wetland kind of pre-treatment to the pond. So we're working with Calvin's team because that is a separate project to kind of meld the two together and make them work in tandem, in conjunction. And then kind of to follow up on Lisa's comments, as far as I know, the project scope that the grant funded was really limited to wetlands, the reconstruction of wetlands, removal of invasive plants, and then the regional stormwater detention. I don't know that any of those other items were a part of the HMA grant. So if the city goes that route and that becomes part of the design, we'll have to look at other funding sources for that.
Yeah, and I think that what Lisa's talking about, the secondary use, isn't that from the study after the hurricane that was kind of pie in the sky?
It was pie in the sky. Yes, so that was part of a study that was done conceptually by what FEMA calls the IRC, and I always forget the acronym, but it stands for Inter-Recovery Council. You were here for that, Councilman. And it was pie in the sky. It did include some secondary uses. U.S. Forest Service came up with the idea of doing some boardwalks in the wetland restoration area and trying to connect to 15th Street to create kind of a trail bicycle sidewalk path. That's not a part of the current funding though.
Thank you.
So,
All right, so, go ahead.
so the money, this 517,500, is just for you to do your studies?
Mhm.
And that's, you're just gonna collect all the data, and then it will go to a design phase, so then.
Yeah, well, in that, we'll be providing different alternatives
Okay.
for improvements.
And the overall project, I mean, just for everybody, I can't say it, but if you didn't catch it, it's $8 million. There's $1 million in study, basically.
Mhm.
And then we're looking at 8 or 7 million in repairs or whatever. All right, with that said, any other questions at the table?
And the state,
It's funded by FEMA, and Dina and I have
this, okay,
discussed
so
that.
that's state, okay. We're good.
Yeah. It's routed through the state from FEMA, so. But also in regards to that, talking about money, task order number 1 was $160,240. And of that amount, we've paid $25,240. So this 517 would be, added to that amount of that and come out of that $1 million initial amount for design and study.
All right.
There's also a comment about there might be additional services past the agreed lump sum, so just keep that in mind as well.
I think that's just common if the city wants anything else,
Okay.
anything else past this scope looked at or designed.
All right. Okay, we have a motion to move forward on this or deny?
I'll make a motion that we move forward.
I'll second.
Tammy, take the roll, please.
Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Mr. Sandy, talk about FDM and FROC.
Good morning. For those of you who might not know what FDM and FROC stand for, FDM is the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and FROC is the Florida Recovery Obligation Calculation. If anybody told me when I was doing fire school that I would be talking like this, I would have laughed at them. So we're here today, basically, we did our preliminary presentation to FROC in regards to what percentage of money we would get back, or we would get post an emergency such as a hurricane or so on and so forth, to help us pay for everything up front. And we ended up with a potential 39 out of 80. They then sent us, this is what you need to do to bring yourselves up that ladder. And we set about making ourselves an abatement plan. They then accepted our abatement plan, and we are in the process of implementing our abatement plan, so to speak. Right? This has been done in conjunction with myself, with Tammy, with Julie, with Dina, and an outside contractor for the debris management procedure. Right? There is, in theory, nothing in this that we didn't do before, or we just never really wrote it down and had it in a hardcore copy. There were things missing. A classic example was how do we pay people in an emergency. We know how we do it, but it wasn't in our handbook. So we needed to take what we do and what accounts know that we do, and so on and so forth, put it into words to add it to our handbook, to our employee handbook. So the emergency financial plan, how do we initially pay for things before any money comes into us? We, as it says in the financial plan, we use pooled cash and our reserve to help us over that gap. We know how we do it, but we didn't show them how we did it. So we had to come up with this short 3-page financial plan of how we deal with that. This is us just making sure that you as the council are aware of what we are putting in for the city that was never in hard copy before, but there is nothing new to it. That is the financial plan. The procurement policy was before a long list of, ordinances, sorry. A long list of ordinances. They've now all been put together by Dina and put into a document that if you read, you would know exactly what we needed to do, and you wouldn't have to ask Julie, myself, Tammy, the city administrator. It's all there in black and white. The disaster debris policy, again, tells us where we went before during Hurricane Michael, where we will go again, but it wasn't written down before Hurricane Michael. We now have a debris, disaster debris policy. And then, as I say, pay for work during emergencies and disasters just wasn't in the handbook, but everybody in the council knew how it was done. We have basically done that. Those 4 items are in here. If anybody has any questions on, there was one change made where we said regarding city administrator being able to change it. That's been changed back so the council, so that it goes to the council. So that there is nothing that we can do as staff without 5 of your agreement to it in any of these.
Chief, I obviously read through this and like everybody else probably did, the 45 pages, and it looks like we were probably adopting this from somebody?
Which one?
No, well, the whole thing, I mean, is it?
You always, I mean, whenever you do these,
Who wrote these?
Dina wrote the procurement policy,
Okay.
and then we had an outside contractor do the debris policy. They are going to be worded almost exactly the same as everybody else's policies. Put it in your places and specialty needs, but they are somewhat generic.
Okay.
They just require your own personal order, your own city ordinance to be put in places and so on and so forth.
So, as I read over this, the way I understand the 45 pages basically is that this is a credit score for the city,
Exactly.
basically?
Exactly, that's exactly where we're at. It's a case of they are seeing how well we do things within the city, so they are going to basically obligate X amount of money up front that they believe that we are going to get that back from FEMA. Because at the end of the day, the state doesn't pay the money, FEMA pays the money, but the state is going to give us the money up front because we do things in a certain way that will meet with FEMA's approval. Therefore, we will get the money back from FEMA, therefore the state will get the money back.
So how do we track that credit score for our city?
It's basically done now, and this is the first time FROC has been set up. This is year 1, so this is why there's so much more work to do this year for a small city like ours. It's built for Miami-Dade style places with 300-400 people working in, for the city. Here we have a very small group of people trying to do the same work and get the same information to them as every other big city and municipality and county has done. So it'll be renewed every year, so whatever points we don't get this year or whatever we didn't get right in our abatement plan this year, we will have the chance to improve every year going forward.
That's what I'm trying to look for. Where this point system, how does it work? I mean, is it something that we can go on a government page?
Exactly, yeah. So what will happen is we will send in, assuming all of this is passed, we will send this in to FDM today or tomorrow. And they will then read through our abatement plan. They will then decide, or they will read through our downloads. They will decide if we met the criteria that they want us to meet. They will then hopefully up our score from 39 to somewhere in the 50s maybe, and then give us points as to where we need to improve on for next year.
And we can see that and track it?
Absolutely, yes. And what will happen is whatever number we get this time around is what we will get for anything that happens in this year's storm season or any other emergency that might happen, and then next year we will get another chance to improve our score for next year. So it's renewable every year,
Okay.
or rescored every year.
Do we have any questions from the public about this? Everybody's good? Sandy, you did a great job, obviously.
Well, no, this is a completely team effort. I mean, literally, this could not be done with the 5 or 6 other people that put effort into it. So it's not just me.
Any questions at the table?
So what are we being asked to do today? Do we need to approve this? Do we
He's,
need to vote
yeah,
on
he's
it?
just, we don't have to vote on it. Do we,
No, I mean, yeah, in theory you need to vote on it so the mayor can put his signature to the 4 pieces of paper that will be downloaded.
so we're gonna need a motion to do it then? Or is this yay and nay?
You're gonna need a motion to
Okay.
approve the policies that are set up.
Yeah. And if you would do just for, if this is correct, for the, do each of them separately. I know it'll take a little bit of time, but I think we need it in our minutes, should they ask how it was done, that each of these were done
Because you
separately.
got 2 separate policies.
Yeah.
For the FDEM and the FROC, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, basically it's, yeah,
FDM and FROC.
FDM and FROC, yeah.
Okay, any questions at the table about it before we request a motion? And I request a motion that, for approval or denial?
I'll make a motion that we approve the FDM and the FROC.
Well, he wanted two separate motions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one for the procurement policy, one for the disaster debris policy.
Okay. So we have to make two motions.
So the FDEM first.
So we'll vote on both, right?
So I'll make a motion to approve the FDM first.
Second.
Tammy, take the roll for FDM.
Okay. Mayor Wolf,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Linderman.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the FROC for approval.
I second it too.
Tammy, roll please.
Okay. Mayor Wolf,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Are we good?
As far as motions, you are.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, because we're gonna get asked all of these questions, and I just don't, yeah.
You have to submit it up to the appropriate.
Yeah, no, agreed, no, I'll do all of that, but I just wanna make sure that the mayor can sign it now, and, once the signature is on it, they should be happy with it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I think there's maybe some concern that FDM and FROC is not what's being approved. It's-
Yes, I mean, yeah, exactly, that's kind of where I was at.
Procurement
So,
policy and.
so it actually should be the procurement policy and the disaster
So
debris
you want it by
policy.
name? Yes.
Yeah, just those two, because they're two big documents.
Okay,
So just real quick, sorry.
In the procurement policy.
that's right.
Which, one thing I will say on the procurement policy, you may want to indicate on signatures, you've got over on page 15 of the procurement policy, you've got city administrators signing contracts up to 15,000, the mayor over 15,000. Who does 15,000?
It should be 1501.
Should be up to and including one of them.
Right. So we have to rewrite it to put up with. the
So
city
either the city
up to
administrator does a flat 15,000, or the mayor does the 15,000 up.
1501, right.
Yeah.
So whichever you want.
We can update that before the mayor signs it.
Right.
Okay, so we need to make that change.
Well, I would recommend that change if that's acceptable to the council, yes, sir.
I have a question there.
Okay.
So is 15,000 the current limit for the city administrator? I thought that was
It's
lower.
10, wasn't it? Do you remember what yours was, Chris? I believe it was 10, I think the last time we talked about it.
There's different levels to where I can, I can sign for contracts if it's like with our existing consultants, say like our engineering firm, if we have we have a contract with them, or our planners, of where I can sign a contract with them because they're already under contract with us. It's just part of the continuing contract and the work they do for us.
But I think the only thing here, we're just gonna want it to comply with whatever your limits are to be the same here, probably.
Well, the limits in here, Chris, the paragraph before that, it limits your approval authority of purchase of goods and services not to exceed 10,000, and then the departments, and I'm not sure why you wouldn't be over department, but anyway, the departments approve not to exceed 15,000. So that's what this particular policy says. I was asking about the contract signing, which was the paragraph below that, but according to this policy, it would be 10,000 for you, not to exceed 10,000.
That's what it is now.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. It's not gonna change anything, and if anything happens, obviously, we're all gonna be here.
Yeah, and most of this is to do with disaster relief, and that's something, we met every single day for almost a month, when all this stuff got done, so,
Well,
Right,
this
that's
would apply beyond that. This would apply to all purchasing.
okay.
So that part of it needs to be consistent with whatever the council understands the policy to be. but the other policy is more related to the disaster stuff.
Do you need to wordsmith that for us, or
I can, Mayor, if I'll,
we can do that today? You're sticking
Yes, sir.
around, so we're, yeah.
I'll
we can
take
do
care
that.
of it. Yes, sir.
Okay, so can we go ahead and make a motion on the procurement and disaster?
Yeah, yes, sir, one at a time, if.
Okay.
if-
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and do that. If I can get a motion on the procurement, approve or deny?
Well, we'll do the first one. I'll make a motion that we approve the debris
Oh,
management plan as it is.
We're looking for procurement policy.
You wanna do that one first?
And disaster debris policy.
There's two.
Yeah. Yep.
He did the debris management
Which
plan
is the-
first, so
Either way,
you got a motion, Mayor.
we got a motion. to accept that.
I'll second it.
Tammy, take the roll, please, on the disaster debris policy.
Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Then move to the procurement.
And just so I'm clear, Mayor, the $15,000 flat contract signing authority, you want that to be with the city administrator? And then the mayor would do 15,000, above 15,000?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the purchasing and procurement policy manual with the change of the mayor's side will be 15,000 and above. Is that acceptable?
No,
15,
above 15,000.
above 15,000.
And
15
the
over
city
one.
administrator would do
Up
up
to
to and
15.
including 15,000.
Your wordsmith.
Yes, sir.
Where's the motion?
Second.
Tammy, take the roll, please. Thank you.
Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Linderman.
Yes.
Good to go.
Thank you very much.
Chris, do you have this in Word? Make some change.
All right? You good?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna move on to RFPs for proposal for legal services.
Do you want me to step out there?
Questions for you,
Oh, well, if you've got questions, I'll
Yeah.
say, have whatever the council wants.
whatever you think.
Yeah.
You're legal.
I'm gonna defer to the council for a vote on that, if he should stay in or go out.
I don't have a problem with him staying.
I'm okay with him staying.
All right, sir. I'm good.
Good, I'm good. All right.
I did find what you were talking about in your,
All right, so, we've obviously done our scoring on these, and, there is a top contender. I'm gonna give you my side, and then obviously we're gonna talk about, well, we should probably just go ahead and, move right to the public and see if there's any public comment before we do anything. Any public comments on the, legal, services? Yes, ma'am, come on up.
Good morning, Council, Mayor. I'm Cindy Jolling, Mexico Beach, Highway 98. I'm here in support of Mr. Sloan. I don't know him personally, but I've been impressed with his demeanor, his professionalism, and the way that he is obviously prepared. He seems well respected in the neighboring communities. He has extensive experience. Chris has worked with him in the past. So there has been a working relationship in previous years, and he seems to be someone who can work well with the city. And I feel like, continuing to have the council and the services as stable as possible with fewer changes would make a strong statement to our community. And I'm very impressed with his professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? close the public, move to the table. No, ma'am.
Okay. In the bidding of the score sheets of these two candidates, Mr. Salone does come in as less expensive, even though the score sheet doesn't exactly reflect that. His rate per hour is $300 an hour. Ms. Jordan is $350 an hour. I think her paralegal is $125 an hour, and Mr. Salone, I believe, is $100. Another concern I have is also, Ms. Jordan says in her application letter, and I'm quoting, in full disclosure, the firm does have standing conflicts on the second Tuesday of every month. So she's not able to come to that meeting. So, to me, does that make her possibly an ineligible, not able to do this job if she's not able to attend the second meeting? And I don't think we should be asked to change our meeting for an attorney. So, therefore, I feel like Mr. Salone is closer by. He represents a city of Parker as their attorney, which is closer to the dynamics of our city. I think by far he is, and then once again, the pricing, he is $300 an hour, where she is $350 an hour, and has to travel. We don't exactly know when her clock starts. I think she's coming from Chipley. Does it start when she travels from Chipley? So those are my thoughts about the two candidates.
Anybody else at the table?
Some of my thoughts, they were allowed, we did the RFP. They all submitted their, what they would work for. We had a contract with Mr. McCahill. Are we trying to stay within that parameter? Money, are we willing to spend more? I think that was one of my concerns as we, had a previous attorney. I read Mr. Sloan's. He suggested, he did put his proposal together like we asked. And he said it would probably be more to the city's benefit that they stayed on an hourly rate. I've seen that in his thing. And Ms. Jordan had a great resume too. I pulled up, last month what we spent. I asked Chris to give it to me. Mr. Sloan did 9.3 hours, $27.90. So we have that somewhat to go by. I know it will be more or less. So some of the thoughts we discussed, talked a little bit, maybe, because it's not the same contract that we had before, maybe we've got two qualified people. Do we have Chris give him the guidance to sit down with the two and look at these numbers? And in that short time, to allow him to do that, we keep Mr. Sloan on for a little while longer as the intern if he's willing to, or do we need, it's here to make a decision to hire. I think we still have a few questions for the two. Obviously we narrowed it down to two. So how do we want to move forward?
So, in reviewing these and scoring it, my concern is, Mr. Sloan came out at $7,500 a month, but he also projected 25 hours. And so we're not really comparing apples and apples with Ms. Blankenship Jordan's book. So I'm kind of concerned about that. I don't know if we can, how to address that, because it's not lower when you look at the total amount. It is hourly if we went by an hourly rate. So, and I do have a couple concerns about Ms. Jordan. And it deals with social media aspect, and I'm not sure what I can say about that, but I just have some concerns about some potential controversy with that. And I do like the fact that Mr. Sloan is closer if we need someone in an emergency, and I am concerned, as Linda pointed out, that she wouldn't be here possibly that second council meeting. So those are my concerns about the process. I know the difference in the scoring, when you look at a percentage, it's very minimal, so they're very close. I guess my question is, do we have to go with the point winner, or do we have some leeway there in picking who we think is probably the better option if that's not the point winner?
My quick answer is the latter. Pick the best
All right.
for the job. But that's my personal opinion. Anybody?
I called you from, and I think your average last year was $8,500.
With Parker, but I do every day,
That's right.
with.
I didn't
with
call
them.
everything up now, I just called Parker.
Yeah, they don't have a city administrator, and if they did, that would take some of that time away, I would expect, because Chris can do much of those administrative things. That was the complaint that I'm sure he shared with me when we were back at Cedar Grove, that there was just so much administrative stuff that was not getting taken care of, that either the city clerk did it or the city attorney. I am happy to do whatever the council wants. I believe, as I said in my proposal, that an hourly basis is the better way to go for y'all. I understand that that maybe you've had a fixed rate in the past, but again, that I think you get a better bang for your buck, because now you know what you're paying for. And Chris, who probably is somewhat of the gatekeeper of what comes to me, he can oversee how that comes. But I'll do however you all want to do.
Jerry, anything else?
To me, I mean, I understand what you're saying about that. If we're not gonna go by these tally sheets,
Well, I just gave my opinion about.
I understand what you said, Rich. I mean, but you know, we went through this and we got the highest score, and then we're gonna take a look. A lower score, maybe because you said that.
Could I add something?
Absolutely.
You finished, Jerry?
But in my opinion, we should take the Miss Jordan because she has got the highest score. Well, there's no use going through and I'm in front of you. I mean, I don't think about that.
That's your prerogative.
That's right. So why did we do this?
I have no idea.
That's an evaluation, I mean, it's.
You know, how those numbers were determined, I don't know. I don't know who the scores were.
The score on the cost, I mean, you was, when you do the three, but when you tally hold it up right there, you was higher. In math, and that's why I did what I did.
Well, and that in itself, Jerry, that's what we had to score it for what was presented. And that's why I'm wondering if, you know, because I will say that I probably scored Mr. Sloan, because that was the number we had to work with.
And that's what I did.
The score might be higher if the number, you know, if we're not paying 96,000, whatever that number was, 75,000.
Can we just, I want to do two things. Number one, I want to get to Ms. Hamilton's question, and then I want to maybe have you just kind of sit back and listen rather than answer some questions, because I'm not giving the other applicant the same.
That's my
thing.
concern.
So just kind of sit back if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hamilton?
You know, going back to the score sheet, Jerry, there's 10 points difference between Jordan and Sloan. But however, that doesn't appear accurate because Mr. Sloan's price is less than Jordan's price. So I don't really see where that actually comes into play, because the reality is Mr. Sloan is $300 an hour and Ms. Jordan is $350 an hour. We don't know when her clock starts. Does it start when she comes from Chickley or when she comes here? Mr. Sloan has less travel distance and he's closer by, and he's also the city attorney of a comparable city to us.
One of the, I haven't had a say here yet, but I do have a say here. I want to give you my 2 cents here, or my really 20%. In reviewing these, I had some questions about Ms. Jordan as far as not being able to attend the Tuesday meeting, which had really, it's a conflict. And number 2 was that she was only gonna cover 2 meetings, 2 council meetings. Her retainer, which is $1,000 a month, did not include P&Z meeting. And it didn't include any extra hours or anything else. I think Mr. Sloan's rate, I know that Mr. Sloan's rate at $300 an hour is cheaper, but his retainer is $7,500. So there's a big change there between the 2.
Mayor, can I clarify that? That's what you asked me to quote, was the retainer.
Good talk, man.
But
Yeah, I want to finish that part though.
I'm sorry.
Ask me not to.
Yeah. So I think there's some, as Mr. Sloan is trying to say, I think there's some variance in what everybody understood to do in the RFQ. We have a couple options here. There's only 2 firms we're talking about here. The other 2 are pretty much null and void because of their numbers and because of their distance and everything else, I would think. I would like to suggest that the city administrator, I'd like to get authority from the city administrator for the city administrator and myself to be able to talk to these 2, nail down whether there's a retainer, what hours they really are gonna cover, what the true cost is, because I don't think the way we're interpreting off these contracts, obviously there's a difference of opinion. I'd like to nail that down and then come back to the council and give them that information and make a selection based on that.
And I think we owe it to Ms. Jordan too.
Right. The variance that I see right away is the $7,500 retainer versus a $1,000 retainer. Conflict with not being able to handle it Tuesday. A $350 per hour charge versus a $300 charge. There's an issue here between the 2, and we need to get them straight. So I would ask for that ability to negotiate with these 2 firms and bring it back to the council. That's my request.
So I would agree. I think we have a small problem with, since Ms. Jordan wasn't here to speak, we probably need to take a step back so that we're fair in that respect. And as long as we can do that legally, we're not violating some kind of contractual requirement, I would be in favor of what you suggest.
Then I would ask for a motion to do that from the council.
I think once again, we need to consider this isn't just not about the money. It is about the fact that Ms. Jordan cannot attend a meeting, and that's pretty much a requirement of this job.
That's part of the negotiations, and it is a conflict, absolutely.
Okay. She's given full disclosure on that in her letter.
Well, I'll make a motion that we give the city administrator and the mayor the authority to sit down with both of the top candidates and to work out the best deal negotiations for the city and discuss things that we've talked about at this table. As far as the money, attending meetings, all of the above that we just talked about. And bring it back to the table at the next meeting. I don't know why we can't do this in 2 weeks and get this resolved.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
Tammy, take a roll, please.
Okay. Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mr. Wolf.
All right, thank you. I think we're at a halfway mark. consultation. Moving on to curbside yard debris. Mr. Hubbard?
Mayor and council, the city put out an RFP for curbside yard debris. The contract had expired with the previous contractor. Previous contractor was KK Storm. For this RFP, we only received 2 proposals, one from KK Storm and one from Waste Pro. The score sheets are attached, and KK Storm was the highest score.
Do you have any public comments on the curbside yard debris RFQ? Yes, sir.
Bill Hamilton, Mexico Beach. Before Hurricane Michael, the city picked up yard debris every other Wednesday at our route. Their regular sanitation workers have 2 routes. I'm on a Friday, Thursday, the other route is Tuesday and Friday. That leaves Wednesday open as far as debris pickup. I know they do pick up those blue trash cans that are at each walkway. But is it really cost effective to outsource just yard debris pickup when we have 1 day idle with the trucks and manpower, and go back the way we used to do it as far as the city picking up yard debris every other Wednesday on each of the routes? Just wonder, has anybody run a cash flow analysis to see which is more effective?
Do you want to go ahead and answer it, Chris?
Yeah, if you look at KK Storm, based on the amount of debris we picked up last year, then if that same amount's picked up this year, you're looking at a total expenditure of the city of $53,840. If the city was gonna go back into picking up the yard debris ourselves, we wouldn't be able to do that with our current manning. And back whenever you're talking about Mr. Hamilton, we also had one of the trucks with the gripper claw on it before we could go around and pick everything up, and so we don't have that anymore. We also need to buy a vehicle. But if you look at just what we would pay KK Storm, the $53,840, if you look at our current salary and benefits as far as our employees are concerned, that would pay for 1 employee. So if we were gonna go back into this business ourselves, because again, during the winter time, we do have some additional manning, but during the summertime, the busy part of the season, all of our sanitation guys are working just to pick up the normal household garbage. And as we're all aware, they also work on holidays and weekends just because there's so much garbage out there. There's no time to be picking up yard debris during that time frame.
So are they on payroll anyway?
Well,
They would be, I'm talking about incremental cost, you pay an overtime, but they're on the payroll anyway on Wednesdays, and they're not making the regular sanitation pickups.
During the busy part of the summer, they're picking up every day. They're picking up household garbage every day.
I thought there was 2 routes.
Well, they do, but Tommy and I have already talked about implementing the 3rd truck to go around and pick up the dumpsters because of our commercial and multifamily residential units. We're gonna have to put that 3rd truck on the road and to handle all the additional debris that's getting ready to start here on Memorial Day. All the garbage.
All right. We're back at the table. Any questions at the table on this?
I wonder if Tommy has any input on that, since that's his crew of people. Did you have any thoughts on that, Tommy?
Other than what Chris said, the guys right now are back, the amount of trash they're picking up now is just about full-blown summer again. Wednesdays, they're still, Chris didn't mention this, but I will, they pick up all the beach trash. They still check all the commercial dumpsters on Wednesday. That's just normal. We pick up on the weekends. We already implemented, normally we don't implement weekend pickup till Memorial Day, but because the way spring break started, we had requests from all the condo owners and different people to go ahead and start picking up. So yeah, they're full blown, just like it would be in July. So yeah, it would be very difficult through the summer months for us to try to pick up yard waste at the quality pickup you get with KK Storm. They pick up every 2 weeks, which is twice a month, the full part of town. We'd only be able to pick up, if we went back to where we were years ago, we'd be picking up maybe a third or half of the town on one Wednesday, so you would only accomplish the whole town in once every month. So right now, you're getting picked up twice a month. So I wholeheartedly, with the staff that we have, recommend that we stay with a contractor on that.
So we really don't have any downtime. That answers my
No, so the only little bit of downtime, when I say downtime, and it's not downtime, those guys do work, we put them on jobs, helping Mr. Glenn. For the last month and a half, he's had 3 sanitation workers every Wednesday helping him with meter installations. So they're not, nobody sitting around. I promise you, those guys are out doing something, the other guys are helping with general maintenance and other things, so.
That answers my question. Okay.
Yeah, so they stay busy, and that's the reason that we've been able to do the amount of work that we're able to do, is because of the help of the sanitation guys.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on from the debris. Do we have a motion?
I had one more
Approving
question.
that? No more, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had one more question. Okay, the rate that KK will be charging us per cubic feet, is that still go back to the hurricane rate, or is that a changed, decreased rate from that period of time?
You know what the prior rate was, Chris?
No, I didn't get that information.
Did anybody see the prior rate anywhere through that, through the RFQ? I didn't see.
No.
The last, I know, couldn't answer that.
He has his own landfill, that's why he's gonna have to, if we picked it up, we have to
I
pay somebody
understand the
else.
advantage of that, I'm just asking the rate.
Did it get raised
If
at
it's
all?
an increase
Right.
or not, or what.
How can we find that out, Chris?
I mean, we have it over there at the city hall, we just pull out the previous contract.
Okay.
But, I mean, what Waste Pro is proposing is more than double the KK's one's cost.
Any other questions? We good? We have a motion to approve it, Donna?
I motion that we accept KK Storm, bid.
I'll second the motion.
Do you have to put the rate on there or something?
Well, it would be based upon the RFQ, the RFP. So you may want to include that in your motion.
So I'll amend my motion to say, a motion that we accept the KK RFQ.
B.
RFP. Is that good enough?
Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
All right, can I take a roll, please?
Okay, Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. I want to say something, but I don't want to say something. But really I have to. Only because I want you to understand what's coming from this table. When we go over these agenda items, for voting or whatever, when we get citizens' input, I want you to know that sometimes we're not gonna answer those questions right away. We're gonna hold back. It doesn't mean we're not gonna get them answered. We're gonna either get them answered through assigning Chris to have it answered, or send an email to that citizen, or do something to communicate back. But I just want you to know that there's a possibility when we're going through these agenda items and we get asked a question, we're not gonna go off in the weeds and try to answer that right away. I think this was a good example of it, and I just wanna point that out. So, just keep that in mind. It's not ignoring the fact that you're asking a question. It's just that we need to move on through the agenda, and those are items that we really need to get some data on and really check the numbers. You can see we were asked a question about last year's rate. We didn't have it. So we might not answer the questions every time, but know that you're gonna get an answer back. We have that obligation to do that. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on to 7th Street bathroom project. Oh, did I?
Is that?
I'm sorry. I told you we reshuffle a lot of papers up here. We're gonna move on to disaster debris removal. Chris?
Mayor and council, just like the previous topic, the city's contract with our previous contractor had expired. That contractor was KK Storm. So we went out for an RFP for disaster debris removal and received 5 proposals. The 5 companies that responded are Aftermath, DRC Emergency Services, KK Storm, Looks Great Services, and Grubb Emergency Services. KK Storm was scored by the elected officials as the highest proposer, the highest score for all the proposals.
And based on that rating, do we have any comments from the public on that? Disaster debris removal? Any comments at the table?
I have a question for Chris. The KK Storm, wasn't it like 9+ million? And then the other 2 lower bids were in the 7, just under 8.
The problem is KK, and it's not a problem, but as KK Storm discovered back during Hurricane Michael, some of the items that we call for being disposed of in the RFP, they don't have dumps that will accept those items within the specified distances. And so what KK Storm does is they will load those items onto barges and take it to recycling centers and then recycle it. They did that with the white goods and also with vehicles that were destroyed during Hurricane Michael. And then if you look at their RFP package, they bid $1 in those situations. Now, KK Storm said that they will honor that $1 bid because what they do is they take everything to be recycled, and then, as in the case after Hurricane Michael, they give those funds back to the city. And that's why they were able to score, a higher score out of all of the contractors, even though some of their costs for C&D debris and debris, vegetative debris were higher than some of the other candidates.
So, but overall, KK was $1 million plus more than Aftermath and Looks Great.
Yep.
Okay, but are you saying that number is possibly lowered because they're recycling debris?
Well, they're saying that they're going to recycle the debris like the white goods and the vehicles, to where the other companies submitted their bid proposals based on the RFP, what was specified in there. But if there was a storm that it was to occur and then they had to dispose of that debris, there's nowhere that they could dispose it of.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you, I understand what Tim's saying, because I saw the same thing, I mean, everybody did, it's $9,400, whatever the number was, and theirs was 78 or something like that, 74. How do you take out that, how do you get that down that low?
I mean, I spoke to Mark Garrison, who owns KK Storm, and he said that he would honor, the prices that he put in there, for the $1, if that's what you're referring to.
No, I'm referring to the total amount.
That's what I'm referring to, same thing.
So the total amount for the first 3 were over 9 million, almost 10 in one case. The other 2, Aftermath and Looks Great, were very close at like 76.
78, 76, something like that.
Million. 7,800,000, something like that. And the other ones were 9 million plus.
I mean, I would need to go through each individual score sheet for the elected officials and see how you all scored it, because obviously the city council is the one that came up with those scores.
Yeah, I know.
And so I would need to go in and analyze each of those.
Where are we at on this? Is it a timeline thing? Where are we at?
I believe it is a timeline thing. Isn't that correct, Dana? Dana? Put you on the spot. The disaster debris disposal, does that need to be?
That's one of the things that's needed for the FROC.
We need to have somebody like stand by.
we need somebody identified, but do we have a contract with them that goes over the timetable that we can sign this other one?
If, in the curbside debris contract, there is a stipulation in there to where if a storm occurs, then they're able to respond and pick up that storm debris for the first 90 days without a disaster debris contract.
Okay. What I'm gonna suggest is that we table this to get the right price, because I believe at the table, we all feel the same. I saw over 9 million, and the other ones are at 7. So if we table this, will we be affected by the policy of FDEM and FROC? Do we have somebody that does this?
Yes, KK Storm will.
It's gonna overlap so that we can sign.
Yeah, and like I said, the contract that was just approved for the curbside debris pickup, there's stipulation in there where he can pick up for the first 90 days if there was a storm that was to occur.
Yes, sir.
The one thing though that I will bring up to the council is KK Storm is here local, and then some of the others are based out of Mississippi and Texas, and so that may wait.
Yeah, and I think that's where the score came to. I mean, we're weighing all the options. I mean, we all seen the price.
Yeah.
The existing contract, Chris, when is it expired?
I think it's already expired.
Already expired. So your risk, Mayor, is the longer it takes you to make a decision, if there was a storm, other than the 90-day provision, you might have some exposure on debris pickup.
I got one more question for this. So ultimately, who would pay for this? FEMA?
FEMA.
Okay. So we would be taking a risk if we went with a higher cost that FEMA would cover that. But ultimately, the debris disaster pickup, it's FEMA recoverable cost.
That FEMA will only pay what they agree to pay. So
Right.
if I don't know if FEMA's had experience with them on differentials on debris pickup companies, but there could be a problem there. Other jurisdictions like the county approve multiple contracts, and then they select one when the time comes. But that's not a requirement.
Yeah.
So, Dina, I don't know.
Yeah, I would only add to that, it doesn't have to always be the lowest bidder. I think it's the lowest
Lowest
qualified.
and best
Yeah.
bidder is the language.
So as far as FEMA is concerned, if you stick to your score sheets and how you specified in the RFP that you would score it, you know, I don't know for this one, I'm not as familiar, but let's say 25% of the score was how qualified they were, and 75% was cost. Well, you would have to stick to that cost, how that scoring was done in your score sheets. And as long as you're consistent with what you said in the RFP, then you're compliant as far as FEMA is concerned. So it's not always lowest, but it's lowest and best qualified.
All right. With that information, I still want, I mean, obviously you better go local, but I want to still take the time to look at the numbers again. And I want to make sure that if we do that, if we can get a motion to table this, that we would not jeopardize anything with FROC or, is that?
We do have you have a plan that you've already approved, so it's just putting a contractor to work on your plan. And that's the issue that I was saying, if there was a storm, before you made that decision, then your fallback would only be the curbside pickup guy for 90 days. So that's the risk of delaying any decision.
My suggestion would be to table this until we get, all the council could get a better understanding of what we looked at when we looked at the numbers.
I have another thought as well. I think looks great. I think that's coming out of Texas, and then the other one is out of Miami. So if their people have to travel to get here, and then are we supposed to be providing them with lodging? Would that be an extra cost to us? So that's just another thought to throw out there. those as opposed to the local KK.
In my opinion. Excuse me. In my opinion, we did score, we got in the score sheets, we got KK at housing, and we do have a timeline. Thinking about, I was saying, Dina sort of feathered around a little bit. We do have to get this done. Why don't we do it?
Well,
I mean, you want to look at the
it's
figures.
it's a $2 million sway, that's one reason.
Did you
I
look
mean,
at
I'm
those?
20% of the vote, guys.
I'm ready to move
open.
forward.
I'm ready to move on. I'm not for the table, we need to move on.
Yeah, I would tell you that after asking the questions, I wanted to understand it fully, and I'm ready to move forward.
I'm not sure you got your question answered completely from what I heard from this side.
Yeah, but I'm comfortable enough with the answer, with what I think we're doing.
I'll make a motion, I'll make ask for a motion to approve it tonight.
I'll make a motion that we approve the debris and disaster removal contract with KK Storm. Is that following you?
It would be our.
In accordance with the
In
RFP.
accordance with the RFP.
I'll second it.
Tammy, take the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes,
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
No. Thank God. All right, we're on 7th Street bathrooms.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is 7th Street bathrooms. I know there's some confusion as far as location. These are the restrooms that were located on Highway 98 across from the gas station and next door to Toucan's whenever it existed. As everyone's aware, those bathrooms got destroyed during Hurricane Michael. The project's already been bid out once, and then we bid it out again here recently in order to see if we could get some better prices now that we're not in the post-storm inflationary period of trying to get materials here. Unfortunately, the prices for the restrooms still came in around $500,000, and staff's recommendation is to throw out these bids based on price and to direct Dana to approach FEMA about sole sourcing this project and see if we can't do it ourselves and have FEMA pay for it.
Go try.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open this to the public. Any comments on the 7th Street bathrooms project? That's coming in at almost $500,000. Come on up, Lisa.
Y'all really gotta put me a podium back there. Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. Would this be in the exact same location?
Chris, that's up by Toucan's, right?
Yes, sir.
They were down on the beach, right?
No.
Those are next to Highway 98 during the parking.
That's parking lot right there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're at the table. No, I'm sorry. Come on up, Ms. Gallo.
I know we have a lot of very talented, skilled resources here in the city, and I appreciate them evaluating this project to make sure we're getting the most efficient for our money. I just was curious as far as the timeline with the restricted resources we have, would it impact the delivery of the facilities? If we did it in-house versus
Well, the intent would be if FEMA will agree to pay for this and allow us to sole source it, then we would use one of the prefabricated restrooms like what we're proposing for under the Palms Park.
is that a short term?
No, it's,
Like we have, is it like the one at the canal?
no,
No, it's like the one of the other.
it's like a,
What's that house over here?
Look, I want a nice
It's
restaurant down there.
It's concrete with a pad and everything else.
Okay.
It's gonna come up on the.
Okay, thank you very much. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
All right, anything else at public? We're at the table. comments?
We can't, we can.
So what we're asking to do is we're asking to, deem it to go back to FEMA and ask for sole sourcing.
We need a motion first
To
to,
reject the bid,
Right.
and then the second motion would be to direct her to.
Okay.
So, but I have a clarification question. Could we also not ask FEMA to increase the price of this, to pay for a higher amount?
they're gonna pay for actual amount, so
We will have to, so, yes, to answer your question, we're going to have to. But yeah, as Chris is saying, this project is called a standard project, which means it's based on actuals, but there's still a process we have to go through with FEMA to make that formal request to say, look, the actual cost came in higher. So the fact that you bid it twice, this is the second time, and if you reject the bid based on cost, then we would go to FEMA, put in an amendment, and explain the cost came in high. Now we've asked for direct quotes. It shows that this cost is lower, assuming that that's the direction it goes. And then we ask for an amendment from FEMA on the cost to be based on actuals, and then look at all of that information and decide if it's meeting the requirements of the grant, the scope. It should. It's going back in the exact same location, footprint, et cetera. So there's always a risk there. They could say no, but you're doing your due diligence to make sure in FEMA's eyes, you're trying to get the most cost-effective restroom.
Any other questions? We got an ask, request for a motion?
Reject. Yes.
We got it?
I'll make a motion that we reject the bid for the 7th Street restroom projects due to cost.
I'll second the motion.
Can we take the roll, please?
Mayor Wolf,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes?
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Lunderman.
Yes.
And I'll make another motion that we direct Dina to go back to FEMA and see if we can sole source it. Good?
Second.
Take the roll, please.
Mr. Lunderman,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes?
Dina, when do you think you'll have any response back?
So we'll need an actual sole source cost. We'll need to gather 3 quotes to do that, or single quote, take that to the state. I don't know. It really, it's hard to say how long it will take them. Typically, the state is fairly quick in making a determination on whether it would meet the requirements of the sole source.
So you'll need 3 quotes that you'll work with Chris to.
Yeah, or a single quote if we can, it's best if we can get 3, but if not, like you said, a single quote from a prefab manufacturer, and if it's lower, we can take that to the state.
You're ahead of that already, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We just need a number to get them. Yeah.
Good. All right. All right, we're moving on to consideration to give Bay County Sheriff Office $67,000 of impact fees collected.
Mayor and Council, I've included a copy of a screenshot of our bank accounts, and I've highlighted the police impact fees there. We currently have $67,794 in the impact fee account. The sheriff called me several weeks ago and explained that the $50,000 a year we put in the budget to pay for a part-time deputy during the busy portion of our season, that $50,000 just barely covered the salary and the benefits for that person, and it doesn't include a vehicle or any equipment. So he was requesting that if we could turn this money over to him and him use that to purchase a new vehicle and all the equipment for it.
Because, Chris, it has to be used for infrastructure.
Yes.
Correct. It can't be used for salaries or anything like that. It has to be infrastructure, things that are gonna last more than 5 years.
And when it comes to vehicles, only emergency vehicles can have impact fees, can use impact fees to study them. We can't use impact fees to buy vehicles for the Public Works Department. But the Sheriff's Office, police departments, we can purchase fire trucks using the fire impact fees, ambulances if we ever implemented ESU here. So only emergency vehicles, and this is what would allow the sheriff to use these funds to purchase a vehicle.
Chris, I've asked you some of these questions, and I'm trying to understand it. $67,000 is a lot of money, obviously. Have we ever done this before? Have we ever passed that money on before?
Not that I can see in our system. Everything that I can see in our software, and then I can only see 2 years of our bank accounts on the bank's website, but it doesn't show any expenditures of funds coming from this account.
You have a trust fund set up for your impact fees, correct?
Yeah.
And then, I've not seen anything about transfers. You can assign impact fees if that's what you're talking about. Is there a reason you're not buying the equipment directly as opposed to going through the conduit of the sheriff?
I mean, the sheriff just requested the funds, and so, you know, in my mind, it's just easier to give him the funds. Obviously,
How
I
do you
trust.
guarantee that he spends it on the infrastructure?
I trust the sheriff to.
Well, I understand.
We need something.
That's one of the things that I had suggested to Chris, if we were gonna do it, that we get a price from them. They come to
Of the
us and
cost.
say, hey, it's $57,000. Does this give us any insurance over our contract to the next year that we're not gonna see an increase or whatever? Ask those types of questions.
Well, and I'd be worried about how your auditor would look at it with you transferring out of the trust fund into the sheriff. What are you gonna transfer it to? How would the auditor deal with it?
Right, and if it was $61,000, there's $6,000 left, how does that get dealt with?
Right.
So it's easier to leave the money in our account, have him give us a price, and then we pay for it. And then the remaining money stays in the account, rather than just giving out I don't know.
However the council wants to address this.
Yeah.
I mean, but
No, just, do we have any idea in the past where monies have this, out of this fund have been spent? I mean, where have we?
That's what I'm saying, our system doesn't show any money ever being spent out of it. Once we got rid of our own police department and went over to the sheriff's office, we're really limited on what we can spend these funds on.
that's probably why there's 67,000 in there versus 6,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the other, I would like some guarantee, some contractual stuff. Obviously, we need to know, does 67 even cover the car or the vehicle? One thing, and then, like you said, how are we gonna?
I'll have to ask that question.
I mean, well, because he's gonna go up on the budget next year. You know, I mean, you can argue what's coming.
I have several concerns. Okay, so, it's my understanding that we're gonna have this part-time officer that, and I think one of the officers mentioned this to me when I was out walking my Roxy, but I think it was like, he's gonna come on 4-hour shifts, 5 days, and that his main function will be traffic control. Marty, do you have anything to add to that, the new officer?
Last year, we put on the extra officer. Extra officer's already working. This is not a new one coming in, as far as I know. This is the one that was already put on, and it was on that last time that they did it, and it was the 2023 when they voted it in, and Ty Van Heerden is the officer that's working, and they did it for $50,000. So, I'm not sure about anything else going on, but you know, he didn't have a vehicle to come in or anything else. It was sheriff put all that in there. It's just paying for him.
Okay, so are we paying for him, or was there some special fund set up that we did not have to pay for?
They approved it and everything, and it was for the half year on the officer, and we put him on for that.
That's all in the original contract.
And the additional cost was part of the budget process.
So how many vehicles do we currently have for y'all to be driving around in?
Well, there's 5 right now, and the other one's a pool vehicle that he's driving right now. It's not one of the ones that was purchased for Mexico Beach.
Okay, and so every shift has 2 officers, correct?
Well, basically with the
And then
overlap.
with the guy, okay, so we have 5 vehicles and 3 people max.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand why we need to buy another vehicle.
Okay.
And, you know, like, well, that's my main purpose, my main concern.
my opinion, it's just, the Ty has he comes with the Tahoe, or whatever it is. That wasn't a truck that was supplied by Tommy to come to Mexico Beach, and I think this money would be his car would go back in the pool, and then we'd get a truck, or whatever they're gonna buy from Mexico Beach. Now, that's just my opinion to talking to. That close? That's close. As long as it's close. So Ty's vehicle in the Tahoe, it wasn't a vehicle that was designated for Mexico Beach.
So you're saying we have 4 vehicles?
Did you say 5?
5 vehicles,
And the max of 3 officers at one time?
max of 3 at one
Okay.
time.
And this money can't be spent for nothing else but lawful. Nothing but law.
It's law enforcement, yes.
But it doesn't have to be spent at all. Do we really need to? We do have another election coming up for sheriff pretty soon, so maybe we might want to hold off on that to see what that decision may be made at that time.
Where you have in your code, and Mr. Lindeman and I have a very short conversation about it, but you have in your code that police services impact fees, if you do not use the funds within 7 years, it says funds not expended, any funds not expended or encumbered by the end of the calendar quarter immediately following 7 years from the date the municipal impact fees were paid shall, upon the application from the current landowner, be returned to the landowner without interest, and then it goes on, so.
At their request.
At their request.
Right. And that's what we want to stay away from.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I think we need to circle back around. We had a few questions that we need to ask Mr. Ford about how this process is gonna work, how we're gonna go. And we know, I mean, he's reached out, like I said before. I would expect that if we don't work with this, that we're gonna see it on next year's budget.
On the next
I agree.
contract increase. Yeah, I think that the census may be here is that we need to look at what he's asking for rather than just giving him money.
I have a couple of comments before you move on, please. So I just want to clarify one thing, because there may be a misconception. Law enforcement impact fees are not traffic tickets, they're not fines. So I just want to clarify that so everybody understands that. That's a different issue. One of my concerns would be if we were to purchase or pay for a vehicle for the sheriff's department, would it stay in Mexico Beach? Would it go someplace else? You know, how would it be used? Another concern would be, well, we talked about the 7-year expiration of the impact fees, and I know we don't want to lose them. But are we able to go back and say that 7 years is 15,000, so we need to distribute that somehow versus all 67,000? And I know Chris said there's a challenge of how far we can go back. So I'm hesitant to recommend we give money away, even though I know that maybe we're saving ourselves some funding in the long range. But I think we have to. I'd rather see the bill for the actual cost of that deputy and not do it this way, as you mentioned, the audit issues, and then. And my last question is, and I think Chris has already told me this, could we use these funds in Mexico Beach? Could they be retained for the new police and fire facility at some point, or at least a portion of them?
Right, the way they're designated, from what I understand, is to the law enforcement. But if you read impact fees, it has to do with infrastructure. So, based on that, we should have the ability to do something other than that. Other than giving it's designated there, but it's an impact fee, so how does it go directly to the police station versus infrastructure? If it's
No, I
on
think it
that.
can be used for either.
Yes.
I'm under, yeah,
Yeah.
I've been told, yeah.
Under the Florida statute, correct me if I'm wrong, for law enforcement, you can use it for a vehicle. It's
Correct.
different than the strictly infrastructural.
Right, under section 163, 31801, the definition of infrastructure means a fixed capital expenditure or fixed capital outlay, excluding the cost of repairs or maintenance associated with construction, reconstruction, or improvement of public facilities that have a life expectancy of 5 years, related to land acquisition, land improvement, design, engineering, permitting costs, and other related construction costs required to bring the public facility into service. It includes fire department vehicle and emergency medical service vehicle, sheriff's office vehicle, police department vehicle, school bus, and then it goes on. So
It goes on to roads, schools, parks, recreation facilities, water and sewer, among other services.
right, but your impact fee is specifically, as I understand, specifically designated as a police impact fee.
Law enforcement, yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because it's designated there, does that mean we have to do that? Or do we,
So
or
that's what
does
you
it apply to
collected.
the infrastructure?
That's what you collected it for, apparently, based upon the chart in your ordinances.
Yeah,
And I don't know how old it is, Chris, I don't know if you have a way to figure that out, but,
We have an impact fee study here somewhere that was completed before I got here the first time in 2006, and so locating that, would shed some light on this.
The impact fees were all set up in 2005.
All right.
and you can have impact fees in addition to that, you can have impact fees, and what I thought you were talking about, Mr. Linderman, when you and I spoke by email, was typical water and sewer impact fees, which I don't see that in your ordinance for specifically how you're designating that, but those are traditional impact fees. You also can have transportation impact fees for development, but your ordinances specify that you have the recreational services impact fee, police services impact fee, and fire rescue impact fee. So that's what you designated for your impact fees.
So based on us designating it there, that's where it has to be used.
I would suggest yes, sir.
But we can prove that we haven't used it for a number of years.
Well, and
So-
apparently nobody's asked for it back,
Right,
so. there
exactly.
you go.
So I would think we need to nail down with Ford what he's looking for. And then I also would like to know that if there's something in the city, law-wise, we can do, maybe that would be a better approach. Buying street signs or whatever. So I don't think we have the answer to move forward. We're giving away the money right now.
Yeah. I would recommend that we try and figure out how old these impact fees are so we can determine what amount is at risk of being asked for back. And that, as you recommended, Mayor, that we ask the Sheriff's Department what they're looking for and how would this funding be used, and then take a look at the process to make sure we're within the legal process if we decide to go forward with either giving the funds or purchasing a vehicle. And also lastly, determine exactly what we could use that for and how and when we'd have to use it within Mexico Beach. That'd be my 4 recommendations.
I'm with that, and I think that's what we're tasking the city administrator to do, is to get that information. Chris, you good with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else at the table on this? We can move on from it? Yes, sir.
Let me make a correction on that. We have 7 officers total. 6 vehicles that he financed and bought for Mexico Beach that were out of the money that was done in the first place. The 7th officer came on with the approval from last year for the 50,000, and that was what he put on. So there's 7 officers, and he had 6 vehicles purchased, and the one that the 7th officer is driving right now is out of the pool vehicles from the sheriff's office.
Okay. So you'd like to bring the pool vehicle back and move a separate?
But we'd like to get him in a newer vehicle,
Okay.
because there's lots of maintenance and wear and tear on older vehicles.
All right, I think we can get to the bottom of this 67,000, and then in the future, in my personal opinion, is I'd like to look at where we put that money in the future and how we use it on a yearly basis. Okay, and I made myself some notes, so.
And the suspense on this is the next council meeting?
Yeah, I'm sure we could have it by the next council meeting easily. If you don't get notified before that by the city administrator individually. All right, let's move on to number 8. Is consideration of purchase of 2 new pickup trucks. Mr. Hubbard.
Mayor and council, I've included 2 things with the agenda abstract. One is our list of vehicles, which shows their condition and who drives them. Anything in red is listed in fair condition, and fair is being generous in a lot of the situations. Due to the condition of some of our vehicles, our guys did a little research, and they were able to locate two trucks right now underneath the state contract. They're brand new vehicles, but they're 2023 models. The price on both of those trucks would be $76,260, and we would be receiving a discount of $5,169.50 from each vehicle, below the original state contract price, just based on the fact that they're 2023 year models. And we would ask the council to approve the purchase of those.
They would be going in, the department one, Mr. Davis's.
One would be going in the utility department, one would be going in the public works department. The utility department, I thought
Jason's truck.
well, we're talking about,
They were raised.
well, there's a few there that need to be taken out, so.
But that's a service truck, isn't it, Tom? Didn't Dale raise Jason's a service truck?
Yes, that's right.
He was. Oh, there you go. Hey, Gary. What do you want? What truck do you
Come
want?
on, Jared. What else? What do you got?
Oh, I mean, if you haul a truck like that, that's a good buy. And we do need trucks. I didn't really think we needed them. So I got to go around and looking at them and seeing what we got in the backyard and how we drive them. And even though this is a small town, we need to keep up our vehicles so if we have something, somewhere to go when we get there.
Yeah, Chris pointed out the 2 that he was gonna pull out of service. And they were the Parks and Recs, the 2004 Chevy 2500. That was the one that's probably the worst. Chris said it was requiring a lot of oil and maintenance. And then the other was coming out of the Parks and Recs, Pam's truck, that Ranger. So I take it we were gonna purchase these 2 and then rotate 2 others into these slots? Is that that's what you're planning on doing?
Yeah, well, one of them, the Jamie's vehicle that's using all the oil, his is gonna be.
No, these are gonna be surplus out. You're
Yes.
gonna buy the 2 new ones, and then there'll be 2 coming from somewhere else going into these 2. But the 2 new ones that we purchased aren't, you're not putting them in Parks and Recs, you say?
Correct. There may be some switching around to make, to make the most use and
Yeah.
best use out of them.
And then you said one of them's coming from the sewer capital replacement, and then the other truck will be pulled from the prior year surplus?
That's correct.
That's where the money's coming?
Yes, sir.
So the ones that would be surplus, would there be any possible financial recovery from them? Would we be putting
Yeah,
in an auction or something?
We would auction those off, and in fact, that's something that we've discussed, myself and the department heads, is not just these 2 trucks here that will be surplus, but there's several things that we'll probably bring to the council and declare surplus for auction at some point here in the near future. We really need to clean up our maintenance yard and, our public works yard and get rid of some of the things that just don't work or we need to get rid of.
So I'm in favor of the purchase of the 2 new trucks. I do believe, and I think Chris is working on this, we need to establish a vehicle replacement fund. And so that this isn't just, hey, the truck is not, we can't drive anymore. So that we have a plan and we should be putting money aside for that specifically. And one other thing I just want to bring up was just a thought I had. I would like at some point maybe to take a look at electric LSD type of vehicle, maybe for the parks and recreation, because of the cost of fuel. It's just something to take a look at, maybe to reduce the cost of our operations for some of these vehicles.
Or possibly hybrid.
Yeah.
We have to.
Just electric versus gas with the, anyway, I'm in favor of this, Anybody else?
So, the selection of people that would be using the new cars would come from the drivers listed here. That would be exclusive of, we can count on the new cars being used by somebody on this list, is that correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, Jamie's vehicle is probably the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else at the table? Okay, my input on it is that we run by a budget. If we make this purchase, we're gonna be making an amendment to the budget.
Yes.
So, and that's gonna take an amendment plus 2 readings, I think, something like that. Do I have that reading, Jim?
No, the council would just vote to make this purchase and the required budget amendment. We would do all that in-house.
And you're planning on getting this money, the 50% from sewer,
The sewer capital replacement fund.
and then what's the year surplus on the other bit?
The prior year
Prior year
surplus,
surplus.
that's just savings we have in our pooled cash.
You taking out of a category or a line item?
Well, on the budget, it would be listed underneath a capital.
We bought 2 last year, right? 3.
Yeah, just to add to Tim's thing, we probably, I'm new here, I've been around the city, get them on some sort of rotation, get them on a plan that may even be more beneficial to us as far as resale. I've worked with different companies years ago that's, you kind of rotated out of these vehicles, so we'll quicker than an 04. I don't know, 5-year plan or.
And I've shared my running list for next year's budget with some of you who've come in the office and we've discussed it. So what you'll see in next year's budget is there will be separate accounts set up for especially the large ticket items, fire trucks, garbage vehicles, the dredge, to where we need to start planning ahead and putting aside a certain amount of money each year, because we know that in 15 years we're going to need to replace that dredge, or in 10 years we're going to need a bigger ladder truck. So you will see that in the next year's budget.
I do have one other thought. So I think Chris has plans or would like to ask to use the direct impact fees.
Sewer replacement.
And I think we can use those also for vehicle replacement for the recreation department. Is that correct?
That's not an emergency vehicle. I'd be a little bit.
You would say recreation vehicle? Okay. So maybe
I think he's talking about that spreadsheet that was.
No, I was thought the statute included parks.
The term includes fire department vehicle, an emergency medical services vehicle, sheriff's office vehicle, police department, a school bus, and the equipment necessary to outfit the vehicle or bus.
All right, so disregard, that's not accurate.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so here's my input on it. I kind of think that, I'm a budget guy. I think that we need to budget properly. We bought 3 vehicles last year on the last budget. I believe that if we need 4 vehicles, Which you're probably suggesting 2 for next budget, plus this 2, right?
Yes.
So that's 4 vehicles. I'd rather buy 4 vehicles budgeted than amend a budget and spend that money. We're 4 months away from doing our budget. It's our responsibility to put on a budget, capital items, so we buy them in time, not mid-year. We panicked when we had to buy a dredge motor when it broke down. But here we're doing something, buying brand new vehicles mid-year. I mean, I don't think it's the right way to run it. My personal opinion. It's a budget. We should know what's coming. There's gonna be emergencies. This is not an emergency. Any other input?
My opinion is if we buy for $70-some thousand for 2 trucks, it's totally unheard of, and I think this is a good buy for 2023. I don't know what that costs us in the next budget. And if Chris says if we have some money in capital replacement in the prior year surplus, I'm agreed to buy.
So what do you think we're saving by purchasing these over next year's?
Well, you definitely won't get the $10,000 discount for the year model.
Yeah, it looks like it's $51,6950 per vehicle we're saving.
Buying 4 vehicles next year, we couldn't get this deal.
I mean, I'm
Maybe.
yeah,
It's
I can't answer that now.
I would say so.
Well, I think we have all the input from the council, right? Linda,
I can see both sides there.
all right. Again, I just,
I understand how you feel
my
about
side,
the budget.
we were tasked to run a budget, guys, not amend the budget. That has to be done in certain cases. It's not the way you run a city, it's not the way you run your business. I'll take a motion to approve and deny.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks.
Chris, how bad, I mean, I'll be honest.
I mean, it's council discretion.
I know it is.
It's bad. Jamie's
We
vehicle.
got 4 months.
Jamie's vehicle right now, I think Troy told me that they give him a gallon of used motor oil every week because it uses so much oil. That's what it requires. They don't even give him new motor oil anymore because the truck's in such bad shape. They give him used motor oil, and he just fills the engine up with oil whenever it needs it. And they give him new oil every week to continue doing that process. So, I mean, can it last another 4 months? I mean, maybe, but that's currently what's happening with Jamie's truck.
Derek, would you amend your motion to 1 vehicle versus 2?
So really, it's like Chris said, 1, that's the main one, but you bought a truck, maybe?
Yeah, I understand.
All right, guys, we got a motion on,
I'll second the motion.
Tammy, take a roll.
Okay, Mr. Linderman,
No.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
No.
Mayor Wolf.
No. All right, moving on to number 9, consideration of 2 bathrooms, pole barn, and some site work for Under Pond Park. Chris?
Mayor and Council, we have been trying to figure out ways of getting restrooms into our parks. A lot of, or I should say most of the money that was given to the city by FEMA for our restrooms in the parks was spent on Sunset Park, which that's an extremely nice facility, but unfortunately it used up the money for the restrooms in the other parks. So the concrete prefab restrooms that we discussed earlier, this is a quote from one of the companies that does that, CXT. These restrooms can be purchased underneath a state contract, and so that doesn't need to go out for bids. I've spoken over with our guys in the Public Works and the Utilities Department, and they feel that they are perfectly capable in doing the site work and stubbing out the utilities. And There's some pictures there of just different, you know, restrooms. They come in different designs, and you can change the designs up, you can change the color up. I've also done a spreadsheet which shows the two different models that's been presented to the council today, the Cortez and the Denali. It also shows the price of the pole barn and the concrete that we recently spent there and Under the Palms Park. If the city council was to go with the Cortez, the price would be $237,303, and that is delivered and set up on site. The Denali, which is a nicer model, is $40,000 more, $276,675. I've also included copies of the official quotes from CXT, so you do have that for your review. And one of the other things that I will pick out is if you go back to earlier in our meeting, there was when we discussed the 7th Street restrooms, if you look at the bid sheets there for the one on 22nd April of this year, there's a base bid amount and there's also an alternate bid amount. Those alternate bid amounts for prefab concrete restroom, you know, exactly is what we're talking about here, but the contractors who submitted their proposals in response to that RFP, they tacked on, you know, profit margin, which shot them up to around the $500,000 mark as well. And that was just for one restroom, but we're doing it ourselves under state contract. We're cutting that price in half for 2 restrooms and a pole barn.
What do you call 2 restrooms? Is that a man and a woman's, or?
2 separate buildings. One would be dedicated to men, one would be dedicated for women.
So 4 bathrooms?
Correct, 4 usable bathrooms. For those in the crowd that's not familiar with these are 100% concrete. Floors concrete, walls, ceiling, roof, everything is concrete. So it's very resilient against storm events like what we could potentially experience here in the future.
Julie, could you pull up that restroom pricing comparison for the two?
I don't think you have that.
Okay.
But I've got extra copies if anybody wants one.
So where is this coming from again? Out of the
building replacement fund.
Which means it comes out of the current.
But it's money we have on hand, and it would require a budget amendment.
Okay.
So Chris, just a question. What's the wind capability to withstand another hurricane on these 2?
I'd have to get the exact wind load amount. I know it has it in the specifications, but I don't have those here. But it would meet our current wind load requirements. As part of this package, the expense that is included there would include engineered drawing to show that it meets all current wind loads, and it would have to meet all Florida building codes as well.
I noticed too on this picture, I think that's a metal roof, but in the description, you know, it's saying let's see, it's a cedar shaped textured roof. So what's the price? I mean, the price that we're being quoted, is that going to be a metal roof if we decided on this particular one?
Well, it looks like a metal roof, but it's actually concrete, just made to look that way. The price for the metal roof is, I think, $5,500 more expensive than if you just go with the wood shape design.
Did they quote all this? They give us these numbers?
No, those are my numbers from the concrete and the pole barns, the exact amounts that we've just spent on the pole barn and concrete slab in Under the Palms Park. And then the price of the bathrooms is the numbers they gave us.
So they're pouring those slabs for $1,500?
Well, our guys did most of the work. You know, they delivered the concrete, and our guys, you know, formed it up and spread it out and did everything. We have some talented employees.
Yeah, obviously.
So too, like just looking at the sheets, you know, like the toilet seat cover dispenser for $350. Like, would we, to me, I can't see people really using that at this point, but, I mean, would we be able to pull certain things out of that to reduce the price?
I believe the sheet that you're looking at is where you can add those things. Those things aren't
Okay.
included.
Oh, okay.
And so we did include some items on there to get this estimate from the company. And if you look at the actual quote from the company, it lists everything at the top of the page in the summary of what's included in those buildings. This Hamilton. This right there. That paragraph at the top. I'm sorry?
ADA compliant.
Yes, sir, they are ADA compliant.
So these restrooms are both for Under the Palms and Parkley Park?
No, just under the pumps.
Okay, so we leave the sort of temporary permanent one in Parkley Park for now?
For now, yes. My goal is to try to finish up under the Palms Park as quickly as possible, and that way we can redirect all of the city's resources towards Parker Park in future fiscal years.
Do they make a single man and single woman?
I believe they do, I mean, and there's several other models, you know, that are available, both larger and different layouts.
So, in Under the Palms, there's no restroom facilities at all right now?
Porta potty.
That's it.
And we definitely need to be moving forward with these restrooms. Not just here, so, I mean, we need to get a plan, and I know it sounds
Do we need to do
easier
it?
than done.
Do we need to do it this fiscal year or wait till next fiscal year?
I think that's what's
How
happening.
quick
Keep kicking the can.
How quick did they do this?
I'd have to get a turnaround time.
60, just somewhere. How many days? But we do need bathrooms. We have things that are, and these are really nice, and they ADAs approved.
I did look at the cost. I mean, you do start looking into the cost of things. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we had bids on the 7th Street. I know that's not this, but technically it is the same. I mean, this is way better than that. But, you know, when you do break down square footage price, it does get a little like, ooh. But Chris has done a lot of work in searching these out. The other thing is, once you put all your numbers in, your wish list, I mean, obviously we're probably not gonna make this today, but the fund has only got $235,000 in it. So, at this time, I mean, with this sheet that you came up with, 40,000 over what we have anyway to spend, so we've got to obviously address.
And that doesn't include the pole barn.
Well, Chris's number, you got the pole barn, is 276, this rough estimate. If we were to take the Denali or the Cortez is right at 237, you know, and the fund's got 235 in it. So we need to, obviously.
Any remaining funds would just come from our prior year savings.
Well, and we obviously need to narrow down, I don't know if we'll be able to make this decision next week, what we're putting in them and, you know, obviously, checklist we want to go through. But we need to move forward, we need to get the bathrooms situated.
I agree.
Do we need the pole barn?
If you didn't see the bathrooms we had before, did you?
No, but I'm talking about the pole barn too,
The
Jerry.
pole barn connects the two together, that way it's got a little breeze opening that you can go between, like the first one in the hurricane.
I'm just thinking of the mayor's point earlier about our budget. Staying within our budget.
I understand, I apologize, I understand the budget, and I understand what you're trying to say about the budget, but we kick these bathrooms around, and finally we got something that I think we can afford. let's please move forward on something, the city, to get something done, to have a bathroom at a park that we have functions at.
I guess.
Or you can come to my house and
Thanks, Jerry. I guess what I'm asking, Jerry, is, so we have the money, it looks like, for the bathrooms. Can we postpone the pole barn to the next fiscal year? Or?
Well, from the price of the pole barn, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
67.
I mean, what is it, 89?
9,000.
I don't, you know, I understand the budget, but I wanna say we're playing a little catch up. I mean,
We are,
I mean, that's what we're,
There's no doubt that we're playing catch-up, and it would be nice to go ahead and approve these things and use funds that are in there. But you're amending a budget,
yeah.
I mean, well, let's do it next year too.
Let me ask,
Put money away.
let me ask the question I asked earlier. Are park and rec impact fees, are they available for this?
You could use park and recreation impact fees for one of the buildings, but because there was existing bathrooms there before, you couldn't use it to replace what was already there.
All right.
You could use it to expand into the second building.
This is,
So is that an option you wanna think about?
it's recreation impact fees, that we got a substantial amount of money in. Chris? Looking on this other sheet that you put on this other one, there's for the police impact, there's recreation impact fees, there's,
Oh, yeah, there's recreation impact fees, and like I just said, those parks and rec impact fees could be used for the second building, but I was hoping to use those parks and rec impact fees for a later item on the agenda, but that may be a non-issue if we're not gonna amend the agenda to accomplish some of these goals this fiscal year. So, at this point, it's council discretion on how we move
So
forward.
we would amend the budget for the 2 bathrooms. And we can put up the pole barn later. Is that possible?
Yeah.
But pole barns, there's only like 9,000,
It's only
$10,000.
9,000.
Yes, that's probably not.
But, so I'm not quite clear on the park and rec fees.
yeah.
Well, how much would that be required, the 65, 105? I guess depending on what model, so half of whatever that final price is, will come out of park and rec. And I know how much you wanna use for a future, another item coming up. Personally, I think I would rather see us do the restroom now. And what Chris is talking about is a design for the extension of the pier. And I know we could postpone this discussion, I guess, until we talk about that and see how you feel about that. We could table this till we've talked about that, if you might consider using some of those
I think
funds.
I think the bathrooms are a concern. I mean, I really I want the council to tell me that we need those bathrooms there. That's an important thing. You're gonna amend something. I mean, you need a bathroom, I understand that. We have bathrooms there now, but they're. Porta potty. I got it, they're porta potties, I got it.
So I would be in favor of the whole package, but I would like to look at, I know we're gonna have to amend the budget, but I would recommend we look at using some of those impact fees, park and rec impact fees to pay for part of this versus taking it all out of our budget.
You know what's in there, Chris, do you have any idea?
Mr. Adams.
417?
Yeah, Mr. Adams just had the.
Well, then what do you think?
I would like us to have, both the bathrooms and the pole barn.
418.
Just thinking in terms of the cost of everything goes up, and then we wait and delay, we're gonna pay more in the long run, and it's been almost 6 years, since the hurricane, and it sure would be nice to have those facilities in a park that is very well used.
I'd be more apt to agree with something like this for amending a budget rather than our daily operations where we're buying vehicles. Go. I mean, that type of thing we could plan for. This type of thing is an improvement for our city.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
Well, one thing we're gonna have to do is get the final price. I mean, I guess we could approve moving forward with up to, but this was some wish list stuff. I mean, it's here, Chris.
He got it.
This is the final price.
That's the final, delivered and set up.
Yeah, but that's with some additions. Everybody needs to know what those additions are.
Chris, that's on, what he's saying is the checklist there, that you're able to
This here is,
check out
yeah,
additional
this is,
things.
We submitted some items, you know, such as, and the items that we submitted are worst case scenario, like, the sanitary napkin disposal. Obviously, we're not gonna put that in the men's restroom. So, you know, we got 2 for the women's, but none for the men. We're only gonna need, you know, 1 set of water fountains.
Okay, so you've already went down the checklist
Yeah.
and the prices.
that's what I mean, he's,
Yes.
Okay.
just so everybody
Just-
knows that it's there.
Yeah, just things that, you know, we deemed as necessities. There's no niceties or anything in there, but,
All right, we're at the table, let's get into it. I'm sorry, Bill.
I have one more question. So, Chris, as I look at these, is it 1 toilet per male, 1 toilet per female? Or is it?
because of the ADA requirements, they can only put 1 toilet in each side.
But that's what we're gonna get, is this?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And are we decided on, we got the Cortez or the Denali?
And that is a lot nicer, it's got the, like a, what pitch is that, Jason? On that roof?
Probably what?
312.
312?
And the other one's a 112, it's just a light. And since we got this far, I would take the other one, but I sure would like to have that
There's a
than
difference between that one there.
that. It's just a 112 and a 312, but if it, and it's solid walls to it. I think that the height of it's gonna make it better to heat and cool to it.
Well, it's a park, it's for our citizens, it's for the people.
It is.
Exactly.
That's-
Chris, you have anything else on it?
No, sir.
Okay, anything else at the table?
Going back to the cost of a metal roof as opposed to the cedar shake roof, those of you that know more about construction, which would be the safer, would it be worth that additional investment to go with a metal roof in terms
I
of?
couldn't understand, I was looking at that, Chris said again, it's concrete, right?
Yes.
Concrete.
He's saying the roof is actually concrete.
So in your opinion?
There's
is it
nothing
better?
over the top of the concrete is what, it's not gonna be shake or,
The
Okay.
question
from what
is-
he's telling me.
The question is,
Saying-
concrete roof better than a metal roof or vice versa?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I had a concrete building on 41st Street that went through Hurricane Michael. The roof was, I mean, it's not to be sarcastic, I mean,
Okay.
one on the building
So
was
it would not be
standing.
worth the investment of the extra 5,000 to go with the metal roof?
If they're not, from what I know, Chris has talked to the vendor in detail about these things, and I'm putting some trust in him and the vendor.
All right, we're good at the table? Look for a motion, we're done now?
Please, somebody.
Oh, wow.
See, Ms. Hamilton, that's your best.
Get
Get the matter, let's put lipstick on it.
So Tim, how do we need to make this motion to make it correct?
Well, you would authorize the construction of the 2 restrooms, the pole barn, and the site work in accordance with the documents that you've been presented.
Okay, so.
That's what she said.
So can we authorize that as a motion, the way it was just described by
And
Tim?
you'll need to amend your budget accordingly.
And to amend
Is
the.
that in this motion or separate motion?
The amended budget would be a separate motion, right?
So, before we get to this, we talked about, are we taking some of them, are we gonna just take it all out of the building replacement fund, or are we trying to take it some out of the Parks and Recs?
Building replacement fund, and then what,
If
the shortage,
any overage.
if there's any shortage there, it would come out of prior year surplus.
Oh, the
Savings.
prior year, it's not coming out of this
No,
Parks and Recs?
no, sir. No.
All right.
So I would actually, Mayor, I would actually include both of those together, both parts of that, the authorization and
The amendment?
amend the budget accordingly.
Okay,
She's got it.
so we're
got it.
gonna make an authorization to build the 2 bathrooms plus a pole barn, and then the amendment to add that to the budget.
Correct.
And which version?
The now.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Can we take a vote, please?
Okay, Mr. Lindeman?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
thank y'all. Thank you, thank you.
All right, Chris.
Consideration for the engineering services for the pier extension design and permitting.
This is something that I've talked about with Dina. To go ahead and, well, I can't say you talked about this part with Dina, but one of the things that I would like to see the city do is to go ahead and start doing the engineering and permitting to extend our future pier out beyond the original 854 feet that the pier was before. With the pier being destroyed in Hurricane Michael, FEMA's going to replace that 854 feet. Currently, all the engineering work is being completed, and all the permitting work is being completed, and we're arguing with FEMA on the prices of everything. And what I would like to do is go ahead and start the permitting and engineering work to extend it out from the 854 original feet to say approximately 1,500 feet to where we're at the same length as the other two piers here in Bay County. And that's what I mentioned earlier as far as the Parks and Recs impact fees. I would like to use the Parks and Recs impact fees for that. The thought in doing this now is that due to the time that it takes to do the permitting and engineering work to extend the pier, and the amount that we've already completed to do the original 854 feet, if we started now, then it would hopefully allow us to finish the permitting and engineering for this as phase one construction is going on, and then we could move immediately into phase two, which would be the city funded portion to extend the pier out in total length and do it all as one construction project, so there's no disruptions in the future.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
And the cost?
I'm trying to stay on path here, but this is just, because I have to, this is just for advertising, to see what it costs. I mean, I don't want to go too far down the hole of what we're spending, you know, I mean, that's a big.
Well, right now we've spent, off the top of my head, right now we spent $438,000 on engineering costs for that first 854 feet.
So that's not what you're thinking of.
What's the pier cost like?
We don't know. Flagler Beach is currently in the process of bidding out a pier similar to what we're proposing. And I've spoken to their city manager, and he actually sent over some of the initial estimates of what it was going to cost, and I provided those to Dina. And once they open up their bids where we can get an actual price per linear foot, then he's going to share those with me.
And the cost that BDI, Basketball Donovan, estimated, but it's several years old now, it's $9.5 million.
So we had, Panama City extended theirs, or did they not? Was their original,
Panama City Beach received $8 million from FEMA to build their 1,500 foot pier.
Was it 1,500 before?
I don't know how much it was before. I tried to do some research and find the original link on it, and I couldn't find anything.
I just, my whole concern, I'm sure it's people at the table too, is we're fighting tooth and nail to get the 854 feet, and now we're gonna introduce another 800 feet.
Yeah, have we done, I mean, I know we're just getting into this. And does it need to go 800 feet? I mean, that's a big question. Can we get to a point to where it's better and less footage? I mean, I know it's shoot for the, let's go, in engineering, I know what you're getting at. But I don't want to put the city on the hook. You know, in the future, I know you're really talking about state money maybe in the future for it, but
I'm sure
there's
if
no guarantee.
once we do the engineering and permitting and we get that process rolling, then I'm sure the engineers, as they go out there and look at the bottom of the Gulf where we're going to be building the pier at, if they say, well, 1,500 feet really is not feasible, it's only feasible to go 1,400 feet without incurring some huge costs, then obviously we can adjust our thought process at that time. This is just to get the process rolling because of the amount of time it takes to do all the permitting and engineering work for the pier.
And the point of going further is what? Deeper water for fishing?
Deeper water, better fishing.
Okay. So I want to bring something up, a cost that you're not aware of yet, that we're looking at. With the beach restoration project, I am led to believe that we will have have to extend, modify our walkovers because the dune is bigger. So there's a cost there, and we'll have to, I think, pay for some of the dune fencing, some other things. So if you spend what we have in our recreation impact fee, I think that's what you're recommending. We may find ourselves looking for money next year for that. And in addition to extending the walkovers, there's not gonna be any, in that plan, there's no cut-throughs, that the dune will be solid. So we may have to do additional walkovers. So just, I want you to keep in mind, there's a
Point is,
bill
there'll be
that's
some
coming.
cost on that.
Yeah, and since Tim brings that up, not to interrupt, the 418, whatever's under 918, how, did we accumulate that in 1 year?
No,
I didn't
no,
think so.
it's accumulated over several years.
But you're talking about spending it just on the
Yeah, on one-
study and
Yeah.
not the capital improvement?
Yeah, there would be no money towards actual construction. And I
that's
don't know how much.
authorized by what you understand? Okay.
But then again, we're just going back to, for improving advertising. I mean, do we wanna fish it, so to speak, and get a cost? And come back?
I think we're trying to get a jump on it, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we are, and we gotta advertise it
That's
first.
right, and I don't know,
What does it cost to do that?
Yeah,
well, there she is right there. There she is right
well, we know what the first half costs, so.
there. She can tell you. She can tell you, she might not want to, she'll tell you.
Excuse me. Lisa, do you have a question real
Yes,
quick?
please.
You go ahead from there. You got it from right there. Please. I got a question?
Do it from right there.
Oh, do it from right here. Thank you.
Very good.
Other than bragging rights of we've got a 1,500 feet to match the other two in Bay County, what actual benefit does doubling the length of the pier bring? Because we doubled the length of the pier once before because the sand kept washing up and making it more shallow. Isn't the same thing gonna happen there? I mean, really? What's the benefit to the citizens to double the pier length? Wasn't it adequate at its 850-foot length?
Okay. Thank you. I'm not gonna answer that because, I mean, I know that, this is the first I've heard talked about this extension deal. I mean, Chris and I talked a little bit about it just so I got up to speed. But, the only extension I ever remember talking about was moving it from where we used to measure it, which was the street entrance, all the way out. Now FEMA's changed it to water line and then out.
So that part is the same. So FEMA has approved the scope based on the pier shifting 200 feet seaward from where it started. So the
Originally.
total length is the same, but it's shifted seaward because of the issue with the Creedy Beach and getting into 15 feet of water.
Which brings it deeper, right?
And that's something DEP.
Okay, that's the extension I remember talking about. I don't know if anybody else ever remembers anything.
Don't put it past the sand on.
Right.
And that's deeper water, better fishing.
So we're already getting that.
You ain't past first sand.
No, I'm saying the 200 feet, we've already gained.
It's
We
not,
got from the road to the water.
yeah, FEMA hasn't obligated it, so there's always that risk, but they have reviewed it based on, yes, shifting it.
Again, my fear is that we've moved this far on 854 feet on the pier. Tell me that we're not causing a bigger monster here by doing this.
It'll definitely cost more, yeah.
Well, cost, how about time?
I think the biggest time time sink is the permitting process for the in-water work. So you're looking at the same time frame that we've looked at for the current year. Unless we can kind of permit them together, I don't know if that would be possible in terms of getting the design started and trying to permit both sections at once.
So, question to Chris. I think this is also tied to our state appropriations requests for this year was a pier extension. So is this needed for that request? You've already done the request, right?
I've already done the request, it's not needed for that, but in the future, if we go ahead and do the permitting and engineering, it will increase our odds of getting financial assistance from the state to extend it out.
All right, well, there's obviously a lot of conversation on this, but I just, I don't, what you're looking for is the money to go ahead and move that forward, right, Chris?
Well, to advertise, so that we could try to get proposals to see what it's gonna cost moving forward with the permitting and engineering.
So there's real no cost to get those proposals, right?
Yeah, that's,
We fish.
Yeah,
Is that sure, no cost?
yeah, no cost right now, I mean,
we're just
this,
advertising to see what it's gonna cost.
Okay. And I just, you need to keep us attuned as far as if this is gonna cause the original pier to go out or move out or cause a problem.
I don't foresee it causing a problem with the FEMA portion of the pier because we're treating it as, you're putting it back out for RFQ, so very clear distinction that this is a separate project. And it would have its own set of drawings, probably permits. So as long as FEMA can determine where that project ends and this project starts, there should not.
And then we go back to, Chris, we go back to state for money?
oh yeah, we hit them up for money every year.
All right, well, I think we've talked through this enough, there's no risk right now. Linda, anything?
You know, I'm concerned about the extension and the amount of time, you know, the extra work that needs to be done. I mean, we're already getting a lot of citizen pressure. We're all asked pretty much weekly, when's the pier gonna happen? So by adding so much more feet, how much will that take to even get started? Because are we having to start from square one all over again, Dina? I mean, it's.
No, I think the intent is the portion that we're working on now, post-Michael, to replace what was there, moves forward without interruption.
That was my
It wouldn't
question.
delay, it would not delay the start.
Yeah.
We can't stop anything like that. And this is like a second project to it.
I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
So I make a motion that we approve advertising for engineering services for design and permitting on the pier extension up to 1,500 feet.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Annie, take a roll, please.
Mr. Linderman?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Okay. We have 3 or 4 more items to go through here. Anybody need a restroom call or anything?
I could use that.
I knew this was gonna be kinda long, so. Want to take 5 minutes, please?
You need to get back.
That's a good sign or bad sign, we're losing everybody. But I mean, so it's not confrontational, it's not. Maybe a future visit, we can do the intermission.
Blues on blues. We just down in the Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
So, we call it, Rick.
Okay. Yeah, just have him call me, or you can bring him up to City Hall, you know, let him in, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, he's probably out there tomorrow, you
Yeah,
Sean.
yeah.
Are you, staying there, or you going out?
I'm,
Nice to meet you. Larson.
Good to meet you as well. Yeah. You need to have fun out there.
Yeah.
You?
No. We just took a break.
Good to see it. Good to be seen, most of us. The option is very bad.
We got 3 more things left.
I'm glad you called that break, I'm sitting here.
Because it's first part of the pier and had it in service, and they would construct the second part separate. There would be a point where they'd have to merge them together, and probably the pier would not be used anymore, but I think it's more. Yeah. So the way they're constructed, they plan to construct the current pier, is actually put in
They told me about this spot, it's right there.
So while they're doing that, it was simply that they're constructing around would be part that they're constructing, they constructed and move out as they put it in. But yet, once they put two together, there might be optional.
Fair enough. We got several projects.
Absolutely, be glad.
I should have let it know most of this. I should start with that. I mean, it's gotta be something better. See, just to help them out, but now they're seeing it. That's I'm sure my phone is in the truck, I'm sure it's well, it's time to move on. Direct these from other bathrooms, man. Shooting for the freaking wherever out there.
I'll tell them.
The one,
I'm sorry, the ones I saw outside, I told them to come in.
I'm just messing. This advertising, I'll let you get past it, we'll go. I get in the hole a little bit. I don't know about 10 minutes.
Give us some money. I said, if the state gives us some money.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna want a letter on my desk going, we're paying.
Are you not hiding?
Everybody's back. Her with this sound.
We still live on Facebook now? Oh, I haven't even been paying attention to the
All right, you all ready to go? We've got 3 more things here to go.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We'd love to.
We got 3 more items to go, so hopefully we'll whip through here. Back to order here. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is approval for Anchor to do an engineering service and design project for a 60 by 40 steel warehouse building. Chris?
Mayor and Council, put this on the agenda because right now our public works and utility department have an extreme shortage when it comes to storage space. It doesn't allow us the ability to purchase things in bulk and get lower prices. It doesn't allow us to purchase bulk items from the state contract. We don't have areas to study to store our larger items such as water and sewer pipe. So anytime we have to leave that out in the yard, the sun pretty much destroys it to where it can't be used. Some of our equipment is experiencing issues because of the fact it sits out in the weather. And so in order to try to rectify this, we're just proposing to build a 60 by 40 foot metal building, which would match the current building that we're in. And the proposal would allow CEI to do all the design build work and bid the project out for us.
All right, go ahead and come directly to the table on the building. Because obviously, I believe it's something that's needed. I did go out in the yard and measure it out and look at everything, and the problem is we're storing stuff that we're putting in inventory out in the sun, and it's getting ruined. I mean, we have meters, we have pipe, we have a little bit of everything out there that's either rusting or getting trashed. So I think we need some. We bought a bunch of sheds out there. I think probably 2 years ago, there's probably 5, 6 sheds out there. I don't know. We really should have ended up with maybe a 60 by 40 building out there. I think it's something needed, but my direction is going to be to budget it. So that's my 20%.
So Chris, the location, would that be directly behind this building? Or is it going to actually be working?
No, ma'am, it would be on the end of the building, the east end,
Okay.
in between this building and the concrete footprints from the water tower that was there before.
And the cost is $26,345?
That's for the engineering, the design, build, and bidding process.
67 for the building.
Yeah, there's an example in there. We called around and got some quotes for steel buildings, and I included one in there to give you an idea of just what the prices are for those.
And how much is in the sewer and water impact fees?
We've got nearly $4 million in water sewer impact fees.
So the issue is, it's just not budgeted for in this fiscal year.
Correct, it's not budgeted.
Yeah.
It required budget amendment.
You said there's 4 million in there?
Close to it.
Don't some of it we have tied up in CDs?
Yeah, there's $2 million roughly tied up in CDs.
So we have 2 to deal with it.
Yeah.
I have a few questions that might be for Anchor. I'm in the building construction business, so I looked at this. The building seemed to be, but the 26,000 for the services. Is that kind of in line with like where did that, because I go by square footage, and when I design something and build it, and you know, we're at almost $11 a square foot just to design the building. I mean, I know you designed the foundation and all that. But
Actually, with this, we opted to go more with a design build as opposed to a design bid build. So our intent would be to put together the conceptual package, do the civil site work, and then put it out to bid for the metal building contractors to actually provide the design of the foundation and the building itself. And then our role, in order to do a design build package in Florida, you have to have a design build professional sign and seal, put the package together. And so then our role, the inspection part, the majority of this is going to be us putting that package together, reviewing the packages that the different contractors provide. But what we're trying to do is, you know, each design build or each metal building company, they will provide a slightly different building. So you know, it's kind of their standard cookie cutter, like if you have like an AB Metals or something like that puts together just their standard building. They already have pre-engineered drawings.
yes.
So if we were to come in and provide a set of drawings that didn't quite match theirs, then they would end up with basically a custom design, which would then increase your cost. So our thought was, in talking with the city manager, is that we would go with a design build so that each metal building company could provide their actual design that's already, it's not a custom design, it's their standard design, and each company would have their own, and then they would provide the actual foundation. And then Anchor would go through and evaluate those proposals to make sure that they meet what you want, and then we would inspect it to not, we would oversee the construction, not oversee it. We would have a field representative on site to make sure that what they bid was actually built. So that's where the majority of our fee comes from. It comes from overviewing that price, and then, reviewing their proposals, and then actually watching it to make sure it's done correctly, so. But in answer to your question, I didn't go through and get the actual original prices, so I don't have the benefit of the actual pricing for these metal buildings. What we did, we just did like an hourly breakdown. And if it ends up that, once we get done with it and it's very simple, and those could be not to exceed amounts, so we can just bill you at an hourly rate.
Yeah, I just didn't know, I'm new to the city here,
Yeah.
government stuff, maybe different. It just seemed a little, and then we get a price on the building was, not that it's set in stone, 67,000 and 46.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's a little,
And we can adjust that price too, once we get their schedule, because a lot of that is actually reviewing of their proposals and then actually inspecting. It says if they come back and say they can put this thing together in 60 days and we only go out there and check it once a week, then we can reduce that. So, however you want to proceed.
yeah, I think the next thing is gonna be is the budget. I want the building for the building, but we could get the truck. So we're going to have to get it.
All right. If you walked in the back here and looked at the equipment we got laid on the ground, stainless steel, some of that stuff is stainless steel, and, stainless steel is not supposed to rust, but it peaks, meaning that it's salt water, and you would see, we need this building, and we needed the building.
Yeah.
And we can't buy stuff in bulk, or can't buy our water meters, because we have nowhere to put it, on the ground, or in a building that won't fit. And I know we're gonna be on this budget again, but we need to get started on something to get this equipment outside where it'd be cheaper for us to buy stuff in bulk instead of buying one at a time, because we have no place to put it. And if you ask Gary or Mr. Davis, especially if we have major breakdowns, the equipment we need and the stuff we need to fix this, we probably just are better getting by with what little bit we have. Instead of having gates out there, we probably don't have a sewer 14-inch break. Can we fix two in one day? Can we get it?
I'm gonna say a majority of the pipe that's sitting outside right now, we can throw it away. I mean, it's been sitting outside.
You answered the question. We need, I'm for let's get this done, let's get started. Let's put some of this stuff out, and then when the budget comes along, we can buy stuff to put in.
For the building, this is for the engineering services,
Yeah.
whatever we can do to come up with a contract.
And it does say in our proposal and not to exceed amount. It's just above the fee schedule.
And one thing that's not in here is concrete.
Yeah, no, I know that with the building, we gotta get it.
So can I ask a dumb question? Couldn't you just go to a vendor and avoid most of this design cost?
To do a true design build package, I know Florida statute requires you to have a design build professional. I don't know where that line is drawn. I don't know if it's a cost, like if there's up to a certain amount, but I know that for a true design build package to put out, you have to have a design build professional engineer.
Yeah,
So,
like I said, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I'm just thinking, if I was gonna put up a pole barn, I would go to the company that does a pole barn, and they would do it all. Is it not similar with some of these big building contractors? We have to design it first?
I've never seen a commercial building of
Like
larger
that?
size done for a city where they just went out and got quotes for it. Part of it is also the civil site design, like we're making sure that you aren't in conflict with DEP, stormwater criteria, making sure your previous permit takes into account, that kind of thing.
It just seems like we're spending almost a third of this in the bidding design costs. That just, not used to that.
If you would like, what we can do to move forward is we can reduce, because that is a not to exceed amount, so that's based on several unknowns. So if you want, well, y'all can proceed however you want, but y'all can also table it until you get a little bit more information. And I can go back and check to see where that threshold is. Or you can just reduce that threshold, and if something comes up later, or not to exceed amount, and if there's a number that you're comfortable with, then we'll proceed with that. If something comes up that pushes us outside of that, like a longer construction time, like I was talking about, or different criteria, then we can do that.
Is it not normal for cities that are gonna build, do they always go to their engineering firm and have them orchestrate it the way we're doing it, or
For this
or
kind of
do they go out to the pole barn place and say, look, we wanna build a pole barn, here's where we're at?
I think that typically relies on your procurement policy, because I know that over a certain amount, you can't just go out and do that. So over a certain amount, most procurement policies for cities and counties require, if it's over a certain threshold, then you have to put it out for bid. If it's below a certain threshold, you can go out and get 3 quotes. So if anybody has any better knowledge.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're staying within, if there's statutes that says we
Yeah,
have to do it.
even your pole barns, I believe it's based upon size. Above a certain size, they actually have to have engineering sign off on that. But it may be prudent to let Elizabeth go back and tell you what the threshold is on this. I'm assuming it's this category 1, 2, 3
Right.
thresholds we're talking about.
And he's talking about the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act that has a criteria that below a certain amount, this is a Florida statute that stipulates how much engineering work you can do without an actual engineer. And so there's a certain amount, there's a threshold there, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but like you can, if it's a low, I want to say it's pretty low, I want to say it's like 50,000 in construction. But again, I can get back to you on that. Yes, most projects that you're going to do of any size, especially a building about this size, I know that the first time we did it, I was involved in it whenever we did this one the first time, and it went through your engineers at that time, so.
Yeah, and I think while this is coming up, it's a simple building, like you said, the company we'll get it from will engineer the slab and do a lot of that work and be in their package.
Right.
So as long as we, just look into it, not.
No.
Just wanna, just a lot of money.
Yeah, no, totally
You
understand.
may want to wait until she gives you that
Yes.
information to actually authorize the
All
work
right.
to be done.
That's
All right, Linda, did you,
I think we should wait till we get that as well.
That's no problem.
Tim, anything else? Thank you.
Nothing.
All right. We don't need to vote on this or anything, we just get and let Chris know that we need to get some more information on that, Chris.
You think we'll be able to get it by the next meeting? I mean, I would like to move forward with the building. Once we get the information from her.
Yeah.
And then,
No problem.
Well, we're still gonna have to decide where we get the money from, so that.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be a decision. Okay. All right, water meters, Chris, that's you?
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, this is just for discussion at this meeting, but if you paid attention to the rereads on our monthly reports over the last several months, we can get as high as 350 rereads on our water meters, and we've averaged a little over 315 rereads every month for the last 6 months. Each one of those water meters is obviously malfunctioning, and that's why we're having to go out and reread it. So every one of those malfunctioning water meters is costing us money, and that we're not able to accurately calculate the water that's going through there, and so we can't accurately bill for the water and the sewage being used by that property owner. One of the issues that we've recently discovered, and this goes back to discussing the warehouse and not being able to buy things in bulk, is the fact that as we've tried to order water meters here recently, the water meters that we've always used are just out. Whether it's supply chain issues or problems with the manufacturer, we don't know. We just know that in talking to the Empire Pipe, our representative there, they're not expecting any of those water meters in until June at the earliest, and he even sounded doubtful whenever that occurred. So due to the fact that we need to buy such a large number of water meters to replace those, we thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and upgrade our water meter system. And right now, if you're familiar with our water meters, we have an individual in a car, and he drives around and his radio read. The readings from meters go into the computer as they're driving around. That information is then brought to City Hall, and that's used to generate our bills. These new water meters can operate in that same way. However, we have the ability to put up an antenna, and the water meters will transmit directly to City Hall 2 times a day. And that will let us know if there's a leak immediately, instead of if the guys go out and read a water meter and then there's a leak the next day. We don't find out about that leak for 30 days. So we wasted a lot of water. The property owner has a huge water bill, and so there's just all kinds of issues that go along with that. And asking for the quotes on the proposals for the new water meters are actually less expensive than what we have been paying for the older style water meters. It's just a matter of getting the council to agree, number one, to purchase a large number of meters so we can replace all those that are malfunctioning and have enough on hand to install those on the new construction that's taking place, especially on St. Joe property where we see a lot of movement right now. And then also to upgrade our system with the antenna, and it would require an upgraded software package inside of City Hall. So again, this is all just for information purposes, but this is something that I would like to bring back to council at the end of the at our May the 28th meeting.
And this is something that's gonna go into our 25 budget, is that true?
No,
Is something you're looking for before that?
I was looking to do something before that, because like I said, every one of these roughly 315 meters is costing the city money every month.
But this is a $400,000 project, is that true?
Yes.
All right, you guys all listened, you take that into consideration. I mean, timing is everything, and I think that we have needs, but we have to budget our needs. We can spend money all day long, we've got $14 million in the bank, I understand that. It doesn't mean we exit our budget system.
So
you, go ahead, Tim.
So this kind of goes back to, I think we talked about this pre-election, that our long-term planning for vehicle replacement, equipment replacement, I don't know how to go about it.
Well, I think if you talk to Chris, he's working on that.
Yeah,
That's something he's working on.
And so I feel like we've inherited some things that we need to, we gotta get on top of and work through. And something else I've been thinking about for quite a while on this is, we've enjoyed FEMA paying for a lot of things that we're gonna end up paying for in the near future.
Great point.
Roads, lift stations have been repaired, sewer pipelines have been repaired. So just remember this as we start budgeting for the future. We're gonna start eating those infrastructure costs in the long run here short.
Excellent point.
Yeah, and I just want to, Chris, you're saying obviously the system we're using now is becoming outdated. So you're asking.
I'm not saying it's outdated, it just
But-
offers advantages.
So, but we got 315, I mean, this is obviously sounds like a phase-in plan when this starts. You're not talking about ordering 1,500 meters and changing out the whole system, are you? Or is-
No, I'm talking about ordering 400, and then as other meters go out or there's new installations, then we'll replace those. Now, it may get to the point in the fall where we pick a street or two and go ahead and replace an entire street to slowly get over, to the full fixed base radio read system. But, again, in doing that, we're spending money on the meters, but it's gonna save money in the long term. Because one of the things that you're gonna see in next year's fiscal year proposed budget is additional employees for the utility department. Just because we don't have enough employees right now to really stay on top of everything we need to do as far as installations, meter reading, and the repairs, maintenance. We got state mandates coming down as far as locating the lead pipes in town. So there's a lot of things that, our utility guys do behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. It's not just reading the meters. And so moving over to a fixed base radio system, then that's going to allow the meter readings to go straight to City Hall, and we don't even have to waste time with, our guys going out and reading meters. They can focus on maintenance, they can focus on repairs, they can focus on the mandates that we have to do to stay, compliant with the state statutes. And it also offers advantages to the citizens in that this new system will allow them a customer access portal. So a lot of our property owners live out of town, out of state, And so they can set up alerts on their phone if they know that they're not here. They can download the app, and if the water's running at their house for 3 hours straight, then they know that, you know, probably somebody's, you know, using the water that shouldn't be there, or they've got a water leak, and they can notify us. So it does offer advantages to our citizens as well.
No, like Tim said, we're gonna have to seriously consider, these things in the future.
Well, that crutch with FEMA anymore, you don't have.
No.
So.
As you're thinking about this, you know, just remember that all 315 of these meters, we're losing money right now. I mean, some of these meters are running backwards, which, you know, shouldn't happen. So.
And we can't get the current ones.
We can't get the current ones.
And there's
The ones that we use over time. Now, like I said, the new meters I'm proposing to get they're compatible with our systems. And so we have bought, you know, some of those for the new installations, just because even if we don't go to the fixed base radio lead system, we have to have water meters for these new constructions. And that's where we're at though.
Okay. Jerry, again?
Yeah, how much would the 400 cost?
I did the math the other day. I think it's like $90,000.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
235 multiplied by 400.
And we got a need, we gotta take care of something here real soon.
And we saving money. I mean, look at the water bill we would get, plus the customers. I had them $600 water bills.
$94,000.
I've had one of them $600 water bills that I wasn't here that run, and I didn't even know it till I went and got my bill. So I think the citizens deserve that, and we deserve making money off the water. So I'm not for putting it on the 28.
Well, we're all right, but I think the whole table's okay with listening to the presentation on the 28th, are they not?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just give us some examples.
Yeah.
And I think, I agree.
Baby steps.
It's
All right.
needed.
Good. Good.
I agree, we probably need to proceed with this, but what we're seeing is, we're talking about amending the budget here, amending it here, pretty soon it really starts adding up. So we really gotta look at this holistically.
Yeah. If there's an urgent need and we go to something that we have to, I understand trying to get through that. And then like everybody said, we're all in agreement, I think. It's gonna be on the budget.
It's almost like we need to vote at the end of this, to see what Chris has got for us.
All right.
I agree, we should put it on the next agenda, get more detail.
On the 28th, good deal. Make sure you get with Chris and ask your questions ahead of time.
Please.
Absolutely. Next thing on it is the sewer alarm system monitoring. We had a little episode, so I guess you probably have to us on that.
Yes, sir. This, most people, I'm sure all of the city council is aware, and most of the people watching at home is aware of the fact that our primary lift station in town, MX1, which is down on Canal Parkway, overflowed there a couple months ago. And it overflowed because the alarm system wasn't working. It didn't notify, you know, our utility guys that there was a problem. As we started researching that issue and researching the other lift stations, part of the problem is there's two different monitoring systems that the city used. One is Hawk and the other was Datamax. Dataflow. So the Hawk system does not work well with Datamax, and then to even compound that issue is the Hawk representative just won't return our calls, won't get back in touch with us, won't respond to emails. And the Dataflow person has been very responsive, came out, spent the day with the utility guys. He's gonna bring in a model unit for us to put in one of the lift stations so that we can get familiar with the system. And much like the water meters, if we transfer everything or transition everything over to this new Datamax system, Dataflow system, then it's more high tech and gives the added benefits of the technology to where if our guys are at home and they're on call and they get an alert that the lift station's about to overflow, they can get on an app on their phone and turn on the pumps for that lift station and pump it down so that it pumps down while they're driving here. Right now, we don't have that ability. Right now, if they get an alarm, they've got to drive from wherever they live to come in and then, you know, try to address the problem and hope they get here before the lift station overflows. So to get rid of the Hawk systems and transition over everything to the new and improved data flow systems is going to be roughly about $150,000. And again, this is something I'd like to put on the next council meeting at the end of the month for further discussion and maybe consideration to approve.
Okay, any questions or comments at the table?
No, I'll comment briefly. I did happen to meet Jermaine and Ben out in the field. They were at a lift station, and they did explain that they're not talking to each other, and obviously we're susceptible to spillages at any time, anywhere.
Systems are not talking.
They're not talking.
Right.
So the alarm's not talking, I mean, whatever it is, so, and they explained, and I didn't know what I was gonna say, Chris, get the whole number. I mean, it's still, again, we're gonna wait 4 months for the budget, you know, again, and all we're risking spills, but we do need to upgrade. I'm for upgrade.
Yeah, that could become almost an emergency item.
Yeah, it's pretty emergency.
Yeah, the $150,000 sounds like a lot until you look at the fines that DEP can.
Oh, I know, that's what I'm for. Let's get the numbers and.
On top of that, it's saving on the call out. Like right
Yeah.
now, like say for instance, if we get a call, we got to come out here and check that. I mean, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
That'll help with that a lot.
All right, so that will be coming up, so keep that in mind. Financial, for April report.
Mayor and Council, you've got a copy of the April financial report. Everything there is fairly self-explanatory. I do have the one Parks and Rec Department highlighted in red. As you can see, it looks like, according to the financial report, that we've already spent 105% of their budget. So the reason why that happens is in your packet of information, you have a letter there which discusses the MVARA funding. The city can never budget in advance for the MVARA reef projects because we don't know if they're going to get the grants or have the funding themselves to undertake one of these projects. So what happened is that MVARA recently did a reef project, cost $136,999, and those expenditures were attributed to the Parks and Recs Department, but we don't show the revenue coming back in to be reimbursed because of that $136,999. Some of those funds will be reimbursed by the MVARA, and the remainder will be reimbursed by FWC. So the city's not actually spending any money out of pocket other than fronting the money initially to pay for the reef projects. So that will be corrected in the future with a budget amendment. Journal entry.
Any questions on the financial? No. Good? All right, we wore all the citizens out, so there's no citizens to ask any comments again. All right, citizens' comments. Anybody have anything? You win. Wow. All right, mayor comments. The only comments I have is, we need to have a meeting, and it's probably gonna be a special meeting for a vision statement. Is that not true, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Because of timeline?
Yes.
I have suggested to Chris maybe the 22nd. So we can get this thing moving along.
After the next meeting?
No, before the next meeting, Wednesday the 22nd.
Yeah, it has to be this month. It has to be before the end of the month. How's the 22nd look for everybody?
Okay, I was on the 23rd.
Good.
You said 21.
22nd?
I'm out of town, Mayor, from the 21st to the 27th.
Okay, appreciate that.
Can't change it.
At what time there?
Well, most likely, the best time, unfortunately, to do it is at 6 to make sure we get our citizens.
You're not gonna be here either?
You're not?
That's too bad. I got another. We have another date?
Out that week.
23rd?
Nah, he's out still.
Yeah.
What day's the 22nd on? I don't have my calendar.
Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday?
But we do it like a Monday.
So I just recommend, I've watched this presentation, they gave it to the P&Z. And so, I mean, you can watch it and I think you'll get it if you're gonna miss it, Jerry. what this is really important for more is for the citizens, I think, the residents to get the briefing. That's my opinion anyway.
I felt the same line.
Yeah, so I think, so I'm recommending go ahead and do it without the two of us here possibly.
Would the 27th be too late, Chris?
No, for as long as there's not a lot of recommended changes, because it has to be completed and sent to the state by the end of the month.
Well, the problem is that puts us into the 28th, we go on a Tuesday, and that's our meeting, so I don't wanna do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Can we do it the 20th or 21st? There's 2 days, that was Wednesday, what about you? Did you have anything?
I could do the 21st, 22nd, or 23rd.
Not the 23rd, I got a doctor's.
And you do it. I mean, I don't know what mine can consist of. I might be here. I'm gonna say no.
What about the 21st?
I can't that week, I can't.
Well, I can't.
Oh, because that's your.
No, okay.
And then
But I don't
27th,
know.
the next
I
week's
don't know if
happening.
we have to have you.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat through the planning commission version of this.
We don't need to have an attorney, right?
No, should be.
I mean, the Memorial Day's the 27th.
21st?
Yeah.
21st?
Yeah, 21st.
Really, that's
It's
great.
at 6 o'clock, that's it.
And maybe. I'm gonna say.
All right.
What I got.
21st, 6 o'clock. 5 o'clock?
The 6 p.m.
That amendment.
You wanna do
5 or 6?
Let's do 5.
Let's do 5, earlier the better.
5 o'clock.
It's only a 5-hour brief.
Yeah. 40 minutes.
I hate to bring this up, but if the council could pick an alternate date, just in case that first date doesn't work with Laura, because obviously, you know, she has to be available for this.
22nd? 21st or 22nd?
22nd is fine.
21st or 22nd?
5 p.m. either day. Okay. I'll get with Laura and I'll let the council know.
All right, so that's taken care of. Any council comments? Yes.
So, I would like to come to the council, maybe next meeting, and present, some grants that I would propose that we start looking at setting our contribution aside for them. Two that I have in mind are, one is called the Urban Community Forestry Grant, and there's up to $75,000 for trees, so we have to match that. The other one is called the Coastal Partnership Initiative, and there's about $60,000 that I think we could use as part of, I was talking about the walkover extensions. We could do that.
The coastal what?
Coastal Partnership Initiative, that's the same one that the kayak grant is under.
Yeah.
And I've written this other grant before. I am going to work with January. She wants to learn how to write grants, so these are two that I've done before, but more importantly is I think we ought to think about the things we want, and if we can, budget next fiscal year for those grants to help us. And I'm not suggesting we just go after a grant because there's money available. We seriously go after the ones that we think we need or want. And with some in-house help, training some people here, I think that'll alleviate some of the cost of using the higher paid folks we don't, like Dina, you know.
These are 50-50 grants?
These are, most of them are 50-50 grants. And then in addition to that, I think we need to talk about soon what state appropriations grants we want to look at for next fiscal year. We've already submitted for this year, so start thinking about that now so we can, and these are the kinds of things that if we have some skin in the game, when we put some money in, we have a better chance sometimes of getting some of these grants too. So I just want to, if you're up to it, willing to listen for about 5 minutes and go over some of this stuff. That's it.
Good deal, we'll do that.
One more thing. Marty, could you come in and tell us a little bit more about your concerns we were talking about earlier so that we might possibly put that on the next agenda?
I bring it up again, e-bikes. We've actually got a business that came in and I got approval to rent e-bikes here in Mexico Beach and everything. On the sidewalks and stuff, like I've been told and I've talked to people about and everything else, people walking their dogs and stuff like that on a leash. E-bike comes zipping by from 15 to 25 miles an hour, one misstep by a dog and you're gonna have a fight on your hands and killing and everything else. Because a lot of people walk their dogs up and down the sidewalks and stuff like that. The city can make a deal where, you know, it puts the e-bikes on the bike path on the side of the road, or comes up with a better deal. The other part of that coming up in July 5th, I think it is the state statute that allows UTVs to be operating on the roadways. They get a tag, they get insurance, they get to drive anywhere under the speed of 55 miles an hour by law in the state of Florida as a mini truck. But you can opt out of that. As far as municipality, I believe that's why I was going to bring it before y'all and again and think about it. And if we get, you know, which attorney we're going to get online and start looking at that option and everything.
And July, you said
July is on the UTVs, and the e-bikes are already legal on the sidewalks anywhere you let a regular sidewalk or bicycle ride.
Chris, maybe you could write that down and something we talk about in the next meeting, that we may have to write some ordinance or policies to.
Well, we're gonna need an attorney to write an ordinance specifying everything. And I don't know if you've already started working on one for the city of Parker or not, as far as the e-bikes and the, you know, UTVs, but it's something we're gonna have to look at here.
They finally went to golf carts not too long ago, but even that, you can't cross a state highway unless you get permission, so.
I'll share the information with you in the state.
UTVs are going to be along the same lines as the LSD, with more power, and they can ride 55 miles an hour on a, you know, if it's posted 55, anything below 55.
But are they restricted from crossing the state road?
No, they ride up and down state road.
So currently, e-bikes by Florida law, as long as they're under 750 watt motor and limited to 20 miles an hour, and they're allowed on sidewalks, they're considered a bicycle. We, as a city, can modify that and change that. I would tell you though, since I'm an e-bike rider, that I've tried riding on the side of the road, and there are many areas where it's not safe. So before we make a decision, I think you need to take a look around at how that's going to be affected. And I also tell you that you can't tell, I know what the police can tell. When they look at an e-bike, is it 750 watts, is it 1500 watts, is it a class 2, which is limited to 20? That's
3 classes.
Yep. But can you tell by looking at the bike?
No.
Yeah. And so there's a little more to this than just making a rule, is what I'm really trying to say.
Well, we can put that on the agenda and have a discussion next meeting.
You're gonna bring it up, or you're gonna put it on the agenda.
That's what they're doing right now, is putting on the agenda.
All right, thank you, Marty.
No.
Okay. All right, staff comments, do we have any from them, Chris, any of your guys?
No, I think, yeah, we're good.
All right.
You don't need any more money?
All right, city attorney. Yes, sir.
I have nothing further.
Sure, I'm gonna give you another chance.
You and I were gonna meet on,
Right,
that
we'll
one
get some
development,
later,
but,
yeah.
nothing above that.
Okay, all right. City administrator, nothing?
I'll talk to them.
Good deal. We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Thank you.